Chapter 96. The rain continued to pour and the wind blew. The rain covered the sky and the sun, causing people to be unable to open their eyes. Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning's vision was blocked and they could only rely on their consciousness to lock onto Yi Qinghan. But the aura of Yi Qinghan was faintly discernible and extremely difficult to capture. When Yi Qinghan was about 300 meters away from the cliff, his aura was once again restrained. The fluctuations of his true yuan were reduced to the minimum. With a sudden acceleration, like a great bird spreading its wings, he directly jumped into the cliff. Boom! Yi Qinghan's eyes were like the sun. According to the information provided by the Qin Shi Huang, he quickly found the entrance of the cave. Taking out his heavy berserk blade, he stabbed it into the stone wall below the entrance of the cave. Go! Yi Qinghan lifted the Qin Emperor casually and sent him into the cave. Soon after, he grabbed the entrance of the cave and jumped into the cave with a somersault. His frenzied saber smashed a rock into pieces, and he fell down with a loud crash. Yi Qinghan indicated for the Qin Shi Huang to retreat. He forcefully cut out a huge piece of rock from the cave and directly blocked the entrance of the cave. Yi Qinghan and the Qin Shi Huang both restrained their aura at the same time. Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning lost track of Yi Qinghan at the same time and could not help but be shocked. That person is clearly at the bitter sea stage. How can he have such a fast speed? How can he evade the tracking of my consciousness? Yi Lingyu landed on the top of a mountain, his wings protecting his body. His eyes were like an eagle's, incomparably sharp. He scanned the entire mountain range, but still could not find any trace of Yi Qinghan. Lu Ning followed closely, her entire body emitting a mist. A faintly discernible yuan qi aura kept the rainwater half a meter away from her body. She was still as ethereal as an immortal. Her phoenix eyes were flowing with light, staring at the mountain range. He should still be nearby. To think that he could evade the detection of our consciousness. Lu Ning frowned, finding it somewhat inconceivable. Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu still did not discover that there was a Qin Shi Huang beside Yi Qinghan. Together, they patrolled the area. Spreading out their wings, they flew past the cliff. A black shadow flashed, and their consciousness swept past the cave. Yi Qinghan and Qin Shi Huang retracted their auras. Yi Qinghan was like a rock, without any signs of life. As for Qin Shi Huang, she was one with the heavens. If no one saw her, she would not exist. No matter how strong one's soul was, it would be difficult to discover them. After a long while, the Qin Emperor said in a low voice, "Teacher, they are searching toward the southwest." Yi Qinghan opened his eyes slightly and took out a gem to illuminate the cave. He found that it was just a natural small cave with no passageway inside. The space was only about the size of a room. He nodded and said, "Okay, help me guard. If anyone comes near, wake me up. I want to condense the azure dragon arm." The Qin Emperor pursed his lips and nodded gravely. He was quite happy that he could help Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and took out the demonic dragon saber. The murderous aura spread out as he dashed out of the cave. The aura inside the cave was so oppressive that it was hard to breathe. The murderous aura kept drilling into the bodies of Yi Qinghan and Qin Shi Huang, as if it was corroding their bones. Humph! The Qin Emperor let out a soft humph. Strands of golden light emitted from her body and blocked the murderous aura. The birthmark of the divine zither in her palm burst out, and strands of divine might spread out in all directions. If the cave had not been sealed, it would have alerted the people outside. Yi Qinghan didn't resist the attack of the murderous aura. On the contrary, he took the initiative to absorb the murderous aura to refine his body. His entire body turned crimson red, as if he were being roasted by fire. His vigorous energy and blood boiled and roared, trying to break free from the shackles of his body. Blue veins popped out all over his body, tearing his clothes apart. The squirming of his blood vessels could be seen clearly. The brutal murderous aura swam all over his body. His bronze-colored body turned dark red, and strands of black gas appeared on it. It looked extremely horrifying. The demonic dragon saber seemed to be very excited. The spirit inside was awakening. Attracted by Yi Qinghan's energy and blood, it took the initiative to absorb his blood. The blood gushed out, breaking open the web between his thumb and forefinger and rushing toward the edge of the demonic dragon saber. Roar! After the demonic dragon saber absorbed the blood, it let out a dragon roar that shook all directions. As if it was alive, it flew up on its own and penetrated into Yi Qinghan's sea of bitterness. It turned into a heavenly dragon and swam in the sea of bitterness. It crazily absorbed the murderous aura in the sea of bitterness, causing the sea of bitterness to surge with thousands of waves. It was majestic and majestic. Yi Qinghan closed his eyes and didn't care about it. He focused on mobilizing his vital essence to heal his injured body. His healed skin became crystal clear, and his perfect body didn't have a single flaw. In the endless sea of qi, his vital essence was completely consumed. The new energy became incomparably pure, and its quality increased by more than a level. Rolling vital essence flowed through his limbs and bones. Yi Qinghan took the opportunity to consolidate the 4 stars of the Sea of Bitterness. He prepared to break through the 5 stars of the Sea of Bitterness and enter the Sea of Bitterness realm. He wanted to comprehend the other side of the Sea of Bitterness and the evolution of chaos. The little person in his Sea of Consciousness was cultivating the violent saber technique and the extreme divine dragon steps. It had evolved into a true 5th grade martial technique. Although it was small, its words and actions followed. It was connected to the great Tao of heaven and earth. When it attacked, the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. In Yi Qinghan's Sea of Consciousness, the little person was firm and unyielding. His clothes fluttered and he stood proudly in the wind. He held the violent saber in his hand and looked down on all living beings. He waved his saber and was invincible. It was like when he was at the peak of the great revered realm. The storm in the Sea of Consciousness whistled past. The saber split the heaven and earth, as if it had opened the shackles of heaven and earth. A white light illuminated the dim universe, causing Yi Qinghan's body to tremble. It was as if he had been enlightened. He instantly became much clearer about the cultivation technique that he had been confused about. If the heavens obstruct me, I will open the heavens. If the earth binds me, I will crack the earth. Darkness cannot stop me. Light will come. The universe of chaos, the myriad of Tao, all will be under my saber. The little person seemed to have his own soul. He pointed his saber at the sky and laughed arrogantly in the firmament. The corner of Yi Qinghan's mouth curled up and his veins popped out. He clenched his right hand and the violent saber appeared. Even without the support of the saber core, the violent saber still emitted a cold aura and cold light. Keep. Yi Qinghan inserted the saber core into the saber hilt. He formed a seal with his palms and controlled the violent saber directly into his sea of consciousness to nourish it with his soul. Groan. The moment the violent saber appeared in his sea of consciousness, the demon dragon saber seemed to have sensed something as if its dignity had been challenged. It turned into an ancient dragon and swept across the mountains and rivers, suppressing the violent saber. Yi Qinghan frowned. He did not expect the demon dragon saber to be so resistant to the violent saber. This situation was like 2 children fighting for attention, or more like a battle between demonic beasts fighting for territory. The demon dragon saber regarded his sea of consciousness as its own territory and would not allow a second saber of the same level to appear. The demon dragon saber was ruthless and tyrannical. It was on the verge of exploding. They did not give way to each other and directly collided. The violent saber rolled up the sea of consciousness, causing Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness to become chaotic and almost collapse. Fuck. Yi Qinghan was furious. If his soul was not at the level of a great revered martial artist, it was very likely that he would have been killed by the two weapons fighting for attention. Separate. Yi Qinghan's soul covered the sky and covered the earth, suppressing the violent saber and the demon dragon saber. However, he realized that the demon dragon saber did not listen to his orders and was incomparably tyrannical. The azure dragon saber's body exploded with a terrifying evil aura as if it would not give up until it achieved its goal. It rushed towards the 7-foot violent saber again. Violent saber was not to be outdone. With the support of the saber core, the cold aura tore through the restrictions and rushed towards the demon dragon saber again. The impact caused Yi Qinghan to have a splitting headache. Damn thing. This was the first time Yi Qinghan had encountered such a situation. Although he was somewhat flustered, he was still a great revered martial artist. He quickly calmed down and mobilized the miniature person to take the initiative to attack. The miniature person in the sea of consciousness flickered and turned into a peerless great revered martial artist. It waved its small hand and grabbed at violent saber. Come! A deep voice accompanied by the laws of heaven and earth, filled with an inviolable will, filled with tyrannical power, rushed into the miniature person's hand and became extremely majestic. It was as if the real Yi Qinghan had returned. With violent saber in his hand, he could fight against thousands of Dao sovereigns. How dare a puny demon dragon saber be so impudent? Yi Qinghan's voice was deep and hoarse. The miniature person also spoke at almost the same time, bringing along a supreme aura to suppress the demon dragon saber. The demon dragon saber's demonic dragon aura stagnated. Its dragon eyes looked down at Yi Qinghan's eyes, as if it was looking into the endless universe. A trace of fear and panic appeared in the dragon's eyes. The origin of heaven and earth is under the violent saber. Endless demonic spirits, those who do not submit will die. Demon dragon, since I dared to buy you, I have the confidence to suppress you. If you dare to be impudent, I will crush the demon dragon saber and completely suppress you. I will forge a new demon dragon saber, and you will no longer be the saber spirit. Yi Qinghan pointed his saber at the demon dragon's head and warned coldly. Roar! The demon dragon was unwilling to submit. It wanted to suppress Yi Qinghan. Its body twisted, but it did not dare to act recklessly. It seems like you are courting death. Yi Qinghan's aura sank. The miniature person raised his saber and suppressed the azure dragon. Violent saber god style. Whoosh! The saber split the heavens and the earth. The sea of consciousness, mountains, and rivers lost their vitality. The sea of bitterness surged into the sky. The sharp violent saber god drew countless figures and suppressed the demon dragon from all directions. Boom! The miniature person drove the violent saber god style and crashed into the demon dragon's body. The friction created towering flames. The entire sea of consciousness seemed to be on the verge of burning. Yi Qinghan wrapped his soul and retreated to the side. The sea of consciousness had completely turned into a battlefield. The saber slashed out, and it seemed to have slashed out a path of reincarnation. The path was filled with endless eerie white bones that could steal one's soul. Roar! The demon dragon cried out in pain. Its body flew backward and fell for thousands of meters. Golden divine blood poured out and burned and it came into contact with sparks. The miniature person's aura exploded. It was as if the god of war had descended. Its pair of eyes could steal one's soul, and it contained an indestructible will. It slashed out again. Have a taste of my self-created saber art. 10,000 origin laws are under this saber. This move is called soul snatching. The miniature person held the violent saber god style with both hands. Its aura became sacred and inviolable. Its robe fluttered in the wind. It raised the saber, and the power of heaven and earth was mobilized. The saber's edge flashed, and the sea of consciousness shone brightly. Lightning intersected and blasted out from the depths of the sea of consciousness. Soul snatching with a saber. Slash. The extreme divine dragon step was performed to the limit. Countless figures filled the sea of consciousness. The 7-foot violent saber god style evolved into a 10,000-meter-long golden saber. It slashed down from the end of the wilderness. Its aura was indestructible and could destroy everything. The spirit of the demon dragon saber was shocked. It did not dare to face the saber's edge. It turned back into the demon dragon saber and stood in the air obediently. It emitted a holy light and took the initiative to recognize Yi Qinghan as its master. The violent saber god style stood less than an inch away from the demon dragon saber. Golden light shone in all directions. Even if it did not attack the demon dragon saber, it still had the power to steal one's soul. It was worthy of the name, soul snatching. Chapter 97. The power of soul snatching was vast and mighty. The little man in the sea of consciousness was majestic. The golden light in his eyes spread out, intimidating everyone. The spirit of the demonic dragon saber submitted and recognized Yi Qinghan as its master. After the soul contract was completed, the man and the saber became one. The two sabers stood side by side in the sea of consciousness, guarding the sea of sufferings. Yi Qinghan's black hair fluttered even though there was no wind. The muscles all over his body returned to normal. His skin was translucent like white jade. Pure and holy energy flowed on the surface of his skin, making him look like a flawless gem. Taking a deep breath, he felt his soul grow stronger instantly. He spread his consciousness out of the cave and found that Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning had not given up yet. They were like the heavy rain that wanted to drown the Owlfall star. The Qin Emperor was very alert, fearing that one careless mistake would put Yi Qinghan in danger. He was very tired at the moment, his face pale. "My son, take a rest. I will set up a formation. They won't be able to find this place in a short time." Yi Qinghan threw out dozens of mid-grade spiritual crystals and arranged them at the entrance of the cave in a regular pattern. They sealed the cave completely. No matter how powerful their consciousness was, they wouldn't be able to figure out that they were hiding in the mountain. "Teacher, these two are like ghosts. They have been guarding that mountain peak. When can we go back?" the Qin Emperor asked worriedly. "They will leave by tomorrow at the latest. These people are very strong and confident. They won't believe that I have stayed in front of them for a night. They will think that I have escaped from this place and will leave soon," Yi Qinghan said lightly. The Qin Emperor nodded. He believed Yi Qinghan's words without a doubt. Yi Qinghan looked around the cave. It was 6 feet tall and 7 to 8 meters long. There was no spiritual energy. He took out hundreds of mid-grade spiritual crystals and set up a powerful 5th-rank spirit-gathering formation. The spiritual energy in the cave was very dense. The spiritual energy of the mid-grade spiritual crystals almost materialized and kept entering the bodies of the two. Cultivate and meditate first. Completely integrate the secret technique soul-absorbing roar into your Zither Dao. I need to condense the Azure Dragon arm. It might take some time. Don't disturb me if there's nothing important, Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Okay. The Qin Emperor was quite obedient. He took out his guqin and started playing the heavenly music. His plucking of the guqin was soundless, it was extremely eerie. Yi Qinghan took out the jade brocade box and activated the berserk technique and the ancient demon dragon saber. He was prepared to suppress the divinity emanating from the boundless flood dragon's spine. He removed the seal of the formation and slid it over the jade lid. The golden bone was filled with the patterns of the great Tao. It radiated divinity in all directions, and the aura of jewels and treasures filled the air. The entire cave was dazzlingly bright, and the terrifying pressure was enough to crush a person's bones. A monstrous divine power burst out from Qin Shi Huang's palm, and the divine zither came out on its own, exuding a faint divine aura. It formed a shield of upstanding qi around Qin Shi Huang's small and thin body, blocking the might from the bones of the vast flood dragon and keeping her still. Yi Qinghan's blood vessels expanded, and his vigorous qi and blood were about to gush out. The muscles all over his body twisted and deformed, and his bones gave off cracking sounds. Yi Qinghan was emotionless. Sweat dripped from his forehead like rain. He reached out his hand to grab the bones of the vast flood dragon without using any of his Jin Yuan. Whoosh! As soon as his right hand touched the bones of the vast flood dragon, his arm, which was as hard as steel, broke open. Blood splattered in all directions, dyeing the golden bone red. The ripples of the patterns became even clearer. Sizzle! The flesh of Yi Qinghan's right arm was quickly shattered by the divinity emitted by the bones of the vast flood dragon, turning into flesh and blood that danced in the air. The divine light of the vast flood dragon spread out, enveloping the eerie white bone. Humph! Yi Qinghan's eyebrows tightened. The piercing pain from his soul did not make him retreat. This was not the most painful moment. When he truly condensed the bones of his right arm, that kind of heart-piercing pain was like 10,000 ants eating away at his heart and bones. Without a terrifying willpower, how could he withstand it? Clank! 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 Yi Qinghan's iron bones had no flesh and blood. He forcefully grabbed the bones of the vast flood dragon, and the bones in his hand melted rapidly. This kind of bone was broken and then condensed again. This cycle of pain caused his face to turn hideous, and the ominous glint in his eyes turned into that of an ancient ferocious beast. Ah! Yi Qinghan let out a low groan. He mobilized his Jin Yuan and formed an arm that wrapped around the vast flood dragon's bone. He took the initiative to absorb the divinity and essence within the bone. He absorbed the essence, divinity, and patterns into his right arm, and then urged his vigorous qi and blood to reconstruct his arm. Ka, the bones were constantly broken and reconstructed, absorbing the essence of the vast flood dragon's bone for his own use. This was the method of condensing the vast flood dragon's arm. It was completely built on self-mutilation and painful self-torture. Without a terrifying willpower, it was absolutely impossible to accomplish. Even if Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu had obtained such a bone, they would not use this method to condense their corporeal bodies. They would have to ask their seniors for help. Those who dared to use this method to condense their corporeal bodies were less than 1 in a million people. Those who were willing to use this method to condense their corporeal bodies were mostly people who had a blood feud. They would go further and become stronger. Qin Shi Huang looked at Yi Qinghan and felt his pain and distorted soul. He played the heavenly zither, and the melody turned into the sound of nature. It circled around the cave, gathering and not dissipating. Yi Qinghan's eyes were blurred, and his consciousness was in a mess due to the pain. The effect of condensing the vast flood dragon's arm was getting worse and worse, and the speed was getting slower and slower. He was jolted awake by the melodious sound of the zither. The sound of the zither turned into a supreme precious medicine, healing Yi Qinghan's soul. It then turned into a spiritual force that wrapped around his arm, soothing the piercing pain. The beautiful sound of the zither that was hard to find in this world became the most powerful divine medicine, causing Yi Qinghan's eyes to flash with brilliance. He sped up the circulation of his vital essence, and the speed of condensing the vast flood dragon's arm was much faster. This kind of condensation required the accumulation of time. Even though the vast flood dragon had fallen for thousands of years, the energy it contained was still immeasurable. Outside the cave, dark clouds covered the sky and covered the sun. Heavy rain poured down, as though the dome of heaven had been broken. The wind and rain raged, and the cold air was pressing. The gloomy weather caused all the beasts to return to their nests. The prowess from the depths of the sky intimidated the entire Owlfall star, foreshadowing the arrival of a storm that would destroy the world. Time passed slowly, and it was already night time. The sky was already covered by dark clouds, and now it was so dark that one couldn't even see one's fingers. Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu glanced at the mountain unwillingly. They were irritated by the vile weather, and could only retreat and return to Flaming Cloud City. Qin Shi Huang felt the two cold auras leaving the mountain. His perfect face revealed a smile that was enough to make the world lose its color. Such a child could only be described as a fairy. When the strings of the zither vibrated and spread out in a melodious manner, turning into specks of divine light that sprinkled down and enveloped Yi Qinghan's corporeal body, reducing his pain by more than half. Yi Qinghan's brows finally relaxed, and his love for Qin Shi Huang increased. She was gentle and kind, treating everyone with gentleness like water, all for the sake of receiving love and care. Such a child would be pitied by the heavens, but unfortunately, she didn't receive the pity of her family. Time was like water, pouring down like a flood from the outside. It poured down the broken cliff, forming a boundless waterfall that flowed down from the cliff. In the middle of the night, Qin Shi Huang's face was pale. He was still playing the zither, wanting to reduce Yi Qinghan's burden. However, he didn't have enough vital essence, and blood was flowing out from the corner of his mouth. He was still unwilling to give up. Son, rest. Use the spirit crystals to recover your vital essence and soul. I can handle the rest. Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse and dull as he said with heartache. Okay. Qin Shi Huang had no choice but to give up playing the zither, and the divine zither returned to his palm. The bone in Yi Qinghan's right palm began to dim. A large amount of essence, veins, and divinity were absorbed by Yi Qinghan. His right arm was formed again, and it gathered countless life essence, glowing like a celestial jade. In the auction house of Flaming Cloud City, the bidding for the last few treasures had reached a climax. Everyone was red in the face, and they wanted to fight. The auction of the 109 treasures continued late into the night. Huang Xiaomeng was in pain but happy at the same time. After today's auction, she would count the money until her hands cramped. The last treasure. The finale, the 5th grade Tao Master Sacred Elixir. As long as a 4th step Fate Palace cultivator has it, the probability of passing the Tao Master Lightning Tribulation will increase by 30%. What does 30% mean? With it, you are half a step into the Tao Master realm, and you are only half a step away from a 1,000-year lifespan. Huang Xiaomeng's voice was rhythmic and charming. Boom, the railings on the 4th floor were shattered by the Fate Palace cultivators, which showed how excited they were. Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning, who had returned to the auction house, were not interested in the Tao Master Sacred Elixir. As emperors, they were confident that they could survive the Tao Master Lightning Tribulations. Even if they were lacking, the weapons given by their families would help them survive the Lightning Tribulations. Their purpose of returning was to keep an eye on Lu Outyan. It seemed that they had not given up on Yi Qinghan's treasure. However, what they did not know was that Yi Qinghan had already subdued the Devil Dragon Saber and was absorbing the essence of the ancient dragon bone. Tao Master Sacred Elixir, 2 million middle grade. Each bid must be at least 100,000 middle grade. The 5 Fate Palace cultivators on the 4th floor no longer had to hide the price announced by Huang Xiaomeng. There was only one sacred elixir, and they could not cooperate. It would belong to whoever got it. 3 million. Lu Potion's face was ferocious. He knew that Lu Outyan had obtained a skill that was better than the Dark Moon technique. Now that he had the sacred elixir, he was determined to enter the Tao Master realm. 300. Tang Xing suddenly stood up and was about to raise the price. Suddenly, after a loud bang, the roof of the auction house was smashed through. A broken body was placed in the hall, crushing more than 10 bitter sea cultivators to death. Hua! The hall was in a panic, and there was an uproar. The auction house cultivators and Fate Palace cultivators were furious, but when they looked, their faces changed. It's brother Shui Yu. Isn't he guarding the Demon Valley continent in the Demon Valley? Lu Potian looked at the middle-aged man who was bathed in blood. His ribs were broken and his right chest was pierced. He could not help but be shocked. Master Shui Yu, a Fate Palace cultivator at the peak of the third step. He was the backbone of the Owl Falling Star. How could the crowd not be shocked when he was severely injured? Demon Valley. Defense. Broken. 6 Fate Palace cultivators have all died. We are ashamed to face Taoist Qing Long. Master Shui Yu's face was ferocious. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. Lu Patian and the others were in a panic. The cultivators in the hall were noisy, and some even shouted in fear. They had lost the dignity of a cultivator. Xian Yuanyu personally came out and put his hand on Master Shui Yu's pulse. He found that his breath was weak, and his flame of life could be extinguished at any time. Without hesitation, he took out a supreme-grade elixir. It contained supreme power, enough to revive the dead. It was priceless, but he did not feel distressed. He directly put it into Master Shui Yu's mouth. It melted in her mouth. Close the city gate. With Flaming Cloud City as the base, build the second line of defense. From today on, no one is allowed to leave Flaming Cloud City. Everyone is under the command of the Fate Palace cultivators to defend against the beasts in the Demon Valley. Xian Yuanyu shouted. Chapter 98. Xian Yuanyu's voice was solemn and commanding. No one dared to disobey him. Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu's faces darkened. The Demon Valley's defense had been breached. This meant that the entire Owl Falling Star was in danger. If Flaming Cloud City was breached as well, countless beasts would trample Owl Falling Star and countless lives would be lost. Although they were all emperors, they weren't of much use in the face of the Demon Valley's beast tide. If they stayed here, their chances of dying were no different from others. In the 7th private room, Lu Aotian's veins were bulging as he broke out in cold sweat. His nervousness made Yi Mengshi curious. "Big brother, what's wrong? Where is the Demon Valley?" Yi Mengshi's voice was crisp, but it couldn't calm Lu Aotian's panic. The Demon Valley was 3,000 miles northwest of Lulan. Further west was the Demon Valley continent. Billions of beasts lived there. There were some as strong as the Fate Palace realm and some as weak as warriors. Bitter Sea realm and Grotto Heaven realm existences were as numerous as the hairs on a cow. The two continents were incompatible, but because of the Demon Valley as a natural barrier, the two continents were prevented from killing each other. Apart from the beast tide that occurred once every 1,000 years, the rest of the time was for both sides to recuperate. There was no need to think too much. The Demon Valley's defense line was where half of the continent's Fate Palace realm experts were gathered. There were as many as 7 of them and sometimes more than 10. The Grotto Heaven realm army had hundreds of people. They were unknown and only wanted to protect Owl Falling Star like the Qing Long Taoist. Now that the Demon Valley's defense line had been breached, 6 of the 7 Fate Palace realm experts were dead and 1 was heavily injured. It seemed that the Grotto Heaven realm army had been wiped out. The reason why Lu Aotian was so panicked was because the Demon Valley's defense line had been breached. The next stop was ancient Lulan. Then, it would be the Middle State continent. No one could escape. Without a large cloud-piercing ship, even Fate Palace realm experts would die here. After an hour, Shueiyue Honored Sir woke up. Seeing Xian Yuanyu and the rest, she gritted her teeth and sat up. She said in a low voice, "Quickly prepare. They will attack Flaming Cloud City by tomorrow. If Lulan is breached, Owl Falling Star will be destroyed. First, tell me, how did the Demon Valley's defenses break? 7 Fate Palaces, 300 Grotto Heavens, and 1,000 embittered seas. With such a defense, my ancestors have guarded the demonic valley for dozens of generations without any mishaps. Why would they be annihilated here?" Xian Yuanyu was furious and questioned coldly. Xian Yuanyu was qualified to question and be angry because this defense was rotated. He had also been on the battlefield and guarded the Demon Valley. His contributions were no less than Venerable Shui Yu's. Lu Patian and the others were also furious and confused. They couldn't understand this. Xiao Yunqing couldn't accept this result either. Venerable Water Moon looked guilty. She was at the third step of the Fate Palace realm and had lived for more than 400 years. We have let down the Azure Dragon Daoist. He sacrificed his life to kill 4 Fate Palaces of the same level, but he only exchanged it for 500 years of survival for us. Venerable Water Moon's tears flowed down her face. She was extremely guilty. Looking at the anxious faces of the others, she said painfully, there were suddenly 7 or 8 Fate Palace realm 4th grade super ferocious beasts in the Demon Valley. 2 of them were 4th grade flying god-slaying eagles. They suddenly attacked and caught us off guard. The formation was shattered as soon as it was activated. The 7 of us risked our lives and only managed to stop them for a day. The 6 of them risked their lives to send me out of the Demon Valley so that I could inform you in time. I also risked my life to break out of the encirclement. When I got out, 2 Fate Palaces had already died on the spot and were torn apart by the ferocious beasts. Thousands of strong cultivators gathered at the auction house, but all of them were as pale as paper. Even Xianyuan Yu was extremely shocked. The appearance of 7 or 8 Fate Palace realm ferocious beasts was enough to determine life and death. Move out now. Activate the defenses of the Flaming Cloud City and inform all the headquarters to support the Flaming Cloud City. Whoever dares to disobey will be killed even if they are the royal family of the empires. Lu Patian, as the first emperor of Lulan, gave the order and the Flaming Cloud City instantly became busy. Move all mortals below the Blood Ignition realm out of the Flaming Cloud City. Let them escape to the east of Lulan and make room for the reinforcements. A few Fate Palace realm cultivators moved out and began to forcefully recruit strong cultivators. Whoever dared to disobey would be suppressed. Even Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu would not be able to escape. After tomorrow, no one knew if they would be able to survive. To be able to keep these 2 Grotto Heaven realm emperors was equivalent to a Fate Palace realm cultivator. Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu were speechless. Xiao Yunqing was going all out now. He did not care about the forces behind them. If they were to die, they would die together. With the 2 of them, they might be able to repel the beast tide. In fact, most of the people knew that the 2 of them wouldn't be of much use. After tomorrow, the beast tide would begin and the entire Flaming Cloud City could be destroyed. This place would become a fiery hell and most of the corpses would be devoured. In Huafei's yard, the parrot was curled into a ball. Its feathers were pure white and shimmering. A faint aura of superiority spread out. No matter how heavy the rain was, it would not wake up. It wasn't until dawn that the parrot stretched lazily. Its vulgar gaze swept around, and when it realized that Yi Qinghan hadn't returned, it couldn't help but be surprised. TSK, now that I am stronger than him, should I think of a way to take back the contract? The parrot's eyes shone as it looked at the heavy rain. It stared at the sky and tried to sense Yi Qinghan's location. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the heavy rain was still roaring. Even at noon, Yi Qinghan still hadn't returned. The parrot was a little restless as it went against the heavy rain and rushed towards Fire Cloud City. However, it realized that there was a purple halo above Fire Cloud City. The heavy rain suddenly stopped and was completely blocked outside. It touched it lightly and felt weak. However, it could not fly out. The parrot could not help but think too much. Could it be that the auction house wants to capture me? Is there a need to make such a big fuss just for the demonic god fruit? The parrot was curious and sneakily flew towards the auction house. However, it realized that a large number of experts had rushed out and were all rushing towards the surrounding walls of Flaming Cloud City. Damn! The parrot trembled and almost fell from the sky. It turned around and rushed towards the city gate. It squeezed through a small gap under the city gate. The rain was still pouring outside. The parrot emitted a faint Jin Yuan and blocked the rain. It sang loudly and flew into the distance. Suddenly, the sky darkened. Countless flying-type beasts covered the sky. The eagles soared into the sky and tore through the shackles with their sharp claws. The earth trembled and a rumbling sound resounded through the clouds. Endless flood roared and surging heavenly might shattered the universe and shrouded flaming cloud city. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Boom boom boom, the powerful flying-type beasts took the lead and covered the parrot from the sky in the blink of an eye. Countless powerful beasts appeared below. Some of them were extremely rare. There were beasts that were more than 10 meters tall. They were like mountains. Their fangs crushed rocks and ancient trees. Everywhere they passed, everything was razed to the ground. Aya! Oh my God! The parrot trembled in fear as if it had seen a ghost. It fell to the ground and didn't dare to fly anymore. It ran towards Flaming Cloud City with its wings spread open like a duck. Beast tide. Oh my God, I actually encountered a beast tide. These damn bastards, why didn't they stay in the Demon Valley? Why did they come to the central region? The parrot shouted exaggeratedly. It didn't remember that it was a spirit beast. It had high intelligence and never thought of itself as a savage beast that only knew how to bite. Therefore, when it saw so many savage beasts, how could it not be afraid? The parrot followed the path it came from and entered Flaming Cloud City again. It trembled and ran towards the other courtyard. Scared me to death. Why are there so many savage beasts? Just as the parrot escaped, countless beasts behind it covered the sky. The flying-type beasts tore at the enchantment seal of Flaming Cloud City with their sharp claws. Boom, roar. Roar, all kinds of unknown beasts and flying beasts came one after another. Some of the beasts were shattered by the formation and turned into a bloody mist that dyed the sky red. Flaming Cloud City was completely dyed red. Above the enchantment, corpses and bones fell like rain. It was nauseating. Flaming Cloud City fell into panic. Whether it was the Blood Ignition Realm or the Fate Palace Realm, their faces were all pale. Many mortals who didn't manage to escape in time were scared to death. 2 4th-grade Fate Palace God-slaying eagles tore through the sky with their sharp claws. Their huge wings covered the sky and their bodies were 5 meters long. When they spread their wings, they were more than 10 meters long. Boom! The sharp claws shattered the confinement of heaven and earth and landed on the enchantment seal. Countless palaces and houses in Flaming Cloud City collapsed and many mortals died on the spot. Other than despair, there was only despair. No one would be able to escape from this calamity. Roar, a furious roar shook the mountains and rivers. The giant beast that was dozens of meters tall was sinister and terrifying. Its fangs were like 4th-grade spirit weapons, indestructible. Its mountain-like forelimbs lifted up a small mountain and smashed it onto the walls of Flaming Cloud City. Hua! The sky above Flaming Cloud City shone brightly. The recoil was enough to kill a bitter sea realm beast. But more mortals in the city were killed. Even the Blood Ignition Realm cultivators were implicated and coughed up blood. Defend. Fight to the death. If the city is breached today, no one can escape. The entire Owlfall Star will be destroyed. Lu Padian roared, shaking the mountains and rivers. He personally went into battle, bursting with a monstrous amount of vital energy to strengthen the enchantment seal. For your loved ones behind you, you may die honorably. The human race will not forget you. Xian Yuanyu formed a seal with his palms and followed closely behind. At this moment, no one was an outsider. Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu were forced to stay until now. It was too late for them to leave. If they didn't defend with all their might, they wouldn't be able to escape even with the cloud-piercing ship. Yi Mingxi's face was pale. She stood in front of Wang Shi and stared at the sky. Seeing the blood rain falling from the sky, her little hand shook and her soul power surged. The fourth-grade spirit soared behind her, trembled and wanted to break through the sky. "Hey, little master, where did master go? What's the situation now? Why are there so many damned beasts?" The parrot discovered Yi Mengxi and flew over, landing on Yi Mengxi's shoulder. Lu Outyan looked at the parrot's surging qi and blood. Its cultivation had also broken into the grotto heaven realm. He sighed inwardly, brother Yi left in the middle of the night. Now that the Demon Valley's defenses have been broken, he's still outside the city. I'm worried that something will happen to him. Chapter 99. Flaming Cloud City fell into chaos. Countless ferocious beasts trampled over the mountains and rivers. The sharp claws of the ferocious beasts could tear apart the rocks, but they could not tear apart the protective barrier of Flaming Cloud City. The barrier emitted a seven-colored holy light that intertwined with the blood mist. It was eerie and terrifying. Some of the stronger birds and ferocious beasts crashed into the barrier, but the recoil caused them to break into pieces. Thousands of Fire Qilin army cooperated with the Bitter Sea experts to defend the four sides of the city walls. Many people had already died from the recoil, but the moment the people in front died, the people behind followed closely behind. No one hesitated. Tang Sheng and the others took turns to rest, desperately defending the barrier. They had to defend until the great empires and noble families of the central continent came to help. Yi Lingyu was wrapped in a black veil, a black battle blade appeared in his hand. The cold light was threatening as he stood side by side with Lu Ning. There is no other way. There are two god-slaying eagles outside. We cannot escape. We can only fight. Yi Lingyu frowned, the cold blade in his hand whistling. Below the cliff, Yi Qinghan was awakened by the eerie atmosphere. He looked at the sky through the cracks of the rocks and found that countless ferocious beasts were endless. They swept up the pressure of thousands of miles and constantly pounced here. His heart could not help but sink. Beast tide. Yi Qinghan quickly reacted. The beast tide was not limited to the owl falling star. The entire universe was facing such a threat. Back then, Owl Warstar had to work hard for decades and join forces with several martial venerables to eliminate the rank 5 vicious beasts. There were countless ferocious beasts as strong as 3rd grade to 4th grade ferocious beasts. With Yi Qinghan's current battle strength, going out would be suicide, unless he could obtain a few 6th grade precious bones like the old dragon bone. Yi Qinghan looked at the half-condensed bone in his hand that had become dim. He took a deep breath and no longer cared about the outside world. At least it was safe here. Throwing out a large number of spirit crystals, he strengthened the spirit gathering formation again. He said to the Qin Emperor in a serious voice, "Son, break through to the next realm. Adjust your state to the best. There will be a great battle soon. We cannot escape." The Qin Emperor already knew the situation outside. His face was heavy as he nodded lightly and said, "Master, I am about to break through to the Bitter Sea stage. Maybe I can use the divine zither better." Yi Qinghan was very satisfied. He nodded and said, "Pay attention to increasing the purity of your soul and maintaining the purity of your true essence. I'd rather refine it several more times. More strength means more hope of escaping. I estimate that Flaming Cloud City will be able to hold on for at most 5 days before the city is breached. At that time, the entire Owl Falling Star will be in trouble, and we will not be able to stay out of it." Yi Qinghan's right arm shone with a golden light. Spirit light fluctuated as if it had become transparent. His entire upper body emitted majestic energy fluctuations. The Qin Empress cultivated bitterly, her eyes tightly shut. She used her vast spiritual power to consolidate her realm, and constantly attacked the bottleneck of the Bitter Sea stage. The birthmark of the divine zither moved restlessly, divine light flowing, constantly moving around. Her young body, from head to toe, was bathed in the divine light emitted by the divine zither. Qin Shihuang's physique became completely devoid of any impurities. He had completely turned into a supreme grade divine stone. His pure red blood had turned into a faint golden color, like a precious medicine. Even a drop of his blood was priceless. In the future, the Qin Empress would know how fortunate it was for her to be able to become Yi Qinghan's disciple. Otherwise, she could have been refined into a divine medicine. Because the spiritual power and medicinal properties in her body were even stronger than the parrot. Yi Qinghan felt the divinity and energy emitted from the body of the Qin Empress. He slightly opened his eyes, staring at the face of the Qin Empress. He sighed inwardly, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. The zither immortal crimson demon physique tests one's human nature. It tests the human nature of the people around you, and it tests one's own human nature. If possible, I would rather you be an ordinary person. Perhaps you would be able to see the flourishing world, and the various states of the world. Subsequently, Yi Qinghan continued to refine the azure dragon arm. His right arm glistened, and seemed like it could be broken with a flick of the finger. In reality, it was as strong as a 5th-grade demon blade, and could break a 4th-grade spiritual sword with one punch. Yi Qinghan was breaking through, transforming. But in the demon cave in the southeast, a young man dyed in blood was like a mad demon. With a ferocious expression, he stared at the cave that had been sealed for who knows how many years. The demon cave. The cave was engraved with 3 chilling words that could steal one's soul. It was covered in dust, but it still couldn't conceal the vicissitudes of life. In front of the cave, there were several dilapidated palaces, which were covered by weeds and ancient trees. If one didn't enter this ancient forest, it would be impossible to discover the existence of such an ancient cave. Ha ha ha, as long as the heavens don't kill me, Xian Wuyu. The demon cave, the strongest 5th-grade demonic sect of the ancient Shaoyun star. After disappearing for 10,000 years, it was actually discovered by me. Yi Qinghan, you destroyed my qi. I will make you pay 1,000-fold. At this moment, Xian Wuyu's face was deathly pale. His dantian had been pierced, and his qi had been destroyed. If not for the 5th-grade spirit vibrating wings protecting him, he might have fallen to his death. But after surviving a great disaster, one is bound to have good fortune in the future. He actually discovered the cave of an ancient demonic sect. Xian Wuyu held his ancient sword, his steps sluggish. He crawled along the broken palaces towards the demon cave. The resentment in his heart supported him as he walked step by step into the deep and dark demon cave. The dim light revealed a sinister tunnel. Spider webs covered the tunnel, and a terrifying devil statue stood at the entrance of the cave. Xian Wuyu didn't stop. Instead, he looked at the statue and laughed maniacally, as if he had gone mad. He. Even the heavens don't want me dead. Yi Qinghan, what can you do to me? Wait for me. The day I come out of seclusion will be the day you suffer. Leaning on his ancient sword, Xian Wuyu walked step by step into the depths of the cave. It took him 2 hours to walk through the 1,000-meter-long tunnel. The moment he exited the cave, the entire space opened up like a paradise. There wasn't a single trace of demonic qi. The immortal spiritual trees and grass were extremely dense. Weeds grew everywhere, and the ancient buildings exuded a strong pressure. No one dared to blaspheme. There seemed to be no other living things here other than the spiritual trees and spiritual grasses. There wasn't even a bird. Xian Wuyu looked around and fixed his gaze on a black ancient tree. It was only about 3 meters tall. The ancient tree was extremely old, as if the demonic qi had touched it, turning the leaves dark black. There was a dark golden fruit that was bigger than a fist. It pressed down on the branches, making it so that one could touch it with one's hand. This is demonic heart fruit. A demonic heart fruit above the 5th grade. A demonic heart fruit that can heal even if one's sea of qi is broken. Ha ha ha. The heavens don't want me dead. Xian Wuyu sneered and walked to the demonic heart tree. He reached out and plucked the demonic heart fruit. Looking at the demonic heart fruit filled with Tao patterns, his body trembled. After Xian Wuyu obtained the demonic heart fruit, he sat cross-legged on the ground and swallowed it in a few mouthfuls. The demonic heart fruit turned into streams of demonic energy that spread to his limbs and bones, rushing towards his broken sea of qi. Rays of light rolled around his body, transforming his mortal body. Xian Wuyu's injured body was quickly healed, and the impurities in his body were removed. Demonic light flickered as his treasured body actively absorbed the spiritual qi from the outside. Boom! 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 His originally dim and lifeless qi and blood no longer had any life force. At this moment, it seemed to be boiling, roaring crazily. His blood vessels expanded, and his veins popped out. His meridians were expanded by Jin Yuan, becoming tough and powerful. A layer of dark impurities appeared on the surface of his body, giving off an incomparably foul smell. The spirit grass around him turned yellow and withered. Xian Wuyu gradually calmed down. After swallowing the demonic heart fruit, not only had his body transformed, even his soul had been sublimated at this moment, becoming pure and clear. He sneered at his previous actions, but his desire for revenge had not changed. After 6 hours, the demonic heart fruit had transformed Xian Wuyu's body into an incomparable treasured body, the demonic spirit treasured body. At this moment, Xian Wuyu finally understood what it meant to be truly invincible within the same realm. He also understood how those so-called elites of the Owlfall Star were laughable. He also understood why he had lost to that stupid bird and had his sea of qi broken by Yi Qinghan's sword. Xian Wuyu came to the side of the clear stream and washed up. He became handsome and elegant. He changed into a set of black clothes. His black hair danced in the wind, making him look like a god descending to the mortal world. His deep eyes were like the boundless stars, sparkling with light. He was extremely beautiful. The corners of Xian Wuyu's mouth curled up slightly, and a good-looking smile hung on his devilish lips, looking unrestrained and unrestrained. Xian Wuyu had completely transforming to the point where he could truly become Yi Qinghan's enemy. Clenching his sword, he stepped into the main hall of the Serene Devil sect to search for the true inheritance of the Serene Devil Cave. No one knew how the tyrannical 5th-grade Serene Devil sect had disappeared. Xian Wuyu searched for so long, but he did not find a single corpse. He could not help but be shocked. In the Serene Devil sect's treasury, many books had already rotted away. Xian Wuyu gently moved, causing a breeze to sweep up, and the rotting books dissipated with the wind, causing him to feel pity. Even if these ancient secret techniques were only 3rd grade, they were still more powerful than 4th grade secret techniques. It was a pity that they no longer existed, completely disappearing in the long river of history. Xian Wuyu quickly went up to the 3rd floor and found that it was incomparably spacious. There was only a sinister ancient demonic sword hanging in the room, the scabbard engraved with the ancient words Evil Nether Sword. A famed ancient sword. It can cut through iron like mud, and can trigger the supreme Evil Nether Sword Tao, allowing one to become one with the sword. Ha ha ha, ancient inheritance, I've obtained the ancient inheritance, the evil nether mantra that goes with the evil nether sword. Once I find it, I can crush Yi Qinghan. No matter how peerless his speed is, he won't be able to escape from my world-destroying sword. Xian Wuyu could no longer suppress his excitement. His blood boiled, and his demonic qi surged. He reached out and the evil nether sword seemed to be waiting for him, directly rushing into his hand. The evil nether sword shook lightly in Xian Wuyu's hand, and the sword qi shattered his arm. The sword hilt automatically absorbed Xian Wuyu's blood and began to recognize him as its master. Everything went so smoothly that he almost could not control himself. The sword had not even left its scabbard, but it was already so powerful. When the evil nether sword left its scabbard, the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. The Tao of the sword boomed, and the evil nether mantra was used, the entire world sank. When the ancient nether demon sect unified Owl Falling Star, it was already so powerful. After tens of thousands of years, many people might have forgotten about this powerful sect, but some ancient powers still remembered it like it was yesterday. In the instant that Xian Wuyu and the evil nether sword recognized each other as its master, Yi Qinghan seemed to sense something. His eyes opened, and a cold light shot out from them. When one's soul was cultivated to the martial saint realm, they would be able to sense danger in advance. Yi Qinghan's Dao heart trembled, and waves of danger came from his soul. He thought that it was because of the beast tide, and couldn't help but frown. Chapter 100. The wind was howling and snow was falling, turning Lulan City into a vast expanse of whiteness. However, it was tainted by the blood mist and turned into blood-colored snow. It was like a vision of heaven and earth. Countless corpses fell from the sky. The city protection formation covered a radius of hundreds of miles. It was built with spiritual crystals and human lives. After a whole day, the 3,000 Fire Qilin army soldiers were completely annihilated. They were torn apart by the aftershocks and died tragically on the spot. The Bitter Sea Realm cultivators who came to participate in the auction were forcefully pushed onto the battlefield. At this moment, they revealed their true nature. Many of them did not even need the orders of the Fate Palace Realm cultivators. As long as there was an empty space in front of them, they would use their lives to block it. The longer they blocked it, the longer their clansmen would live. They might even be able to wait for reinforcements. However, some of them were unwilling to be used as cannon fodder. They wanted to escape but were suppressed by the Fate Palace Realm cultivators and died even more tragically. Since they were going to die anyway, they might as well die heroically. At least they could fight for a chance for their descendants. Tragic. This was the only way to describe Flaming Cloud City. There were corpses everywhere. Most of them were bleeding from their orifices. Their skin was cracked and their pupils were dilated. They were unwilling to die. The ferocious beasts outside the barrier were the same as before. They crashed into the barrier without any regard for their lives. The sharp claws of the god-slaying eagles shook the barrier. Every crash would kill hundreds of ferocious beasts and some human cultivators. There were 9 powerful 4th-grade Fate Palace Realm ferocious beasts. 2 of them were the god-slaying eagles and the last one was a violent bear that was more than 10 meters tall. The 4th-grade Fire Python Flood Dragon was more than 30 meters long. It had the potential to transform into a dragon. Its silver scales were even more captivating against the white snow. The Flying Leopard was nearly 100 meters tall. It was named the Flying Leopard because of its shocking lethality. There was a wild tiger, a rhinoceros, and 2 other strange beasts. They were completely different. Their fangs were like divine weapons. Most of the ferocious beasts had no intelligence, including the 4th-grade Fate Palace Realm ferocious beasts. They only knew how to charge with brute force. The rhinoceros was even more powerful. It was at least 10 tons heavy. When it ran, it used its rhinoceros horn to crash into the city protection formation. The entire Flaming Cloud City was shaking. Boom! The 9 level 4 Fate Palace ferocious beasts launched another attack. Heaven and earth trembled as the aftershock of the formation shattered countless ferocious beasts. Blood and bones flew everywhere as they blotted out the sky. The area outside Fire Cloud City had turned into an endless hell as corpses littered the ground. The inside of Flaming Cloud City was incomparably tragic. Hundreds of Bitter Sea stage experts died tragically on the spot because of this collision, their souls shattered. The houses near the city walls collapsed, crushing many mortals to death. Ancient gods! Come back and save our poor people. Green Dragon Holy Man, please come back. Descend with your monster-slaying Azure Dragon Saber. Countless commoners knelt and begged. They were helpless and powerless to resist. They could only pray to the heavens, to fate, and to the gods. Children wept, women and children broke down. The elders all rushed to the city walls, waiting to buy some time for their families behind them. They faced death calmly, without any complaints or regrets. Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning weren't natives, but because they had the hearts of kings, their auras filled the air and they sighed sadly. Many strong mortals took out bows and arrows, preparing to die on the battlefield, even if it was useless. Lu Outyan's clothes were piercingly cold as he frowned. The spiritual sword in his hand constantly hummed and the anger in his eyes was self-evident. The mortals who died tragically were his people. His children were the future pillars of Lu Lan, but they were suffering endless pain here. Why don't you give me 3 more years? I have the great reincarnation sword art, I can definitely reverse the situation. Lu Outyan was unwilling. When he was at his proudest moment, such a disaster occurred. Who would be willing to accept it? Yi Mingxi calmed down and sat cross-legged on the ground. She used a large number of spiritual crystals to cultivate, causing the vital energy in her qi to surge even more. The more power he had, the more chance he had. This was what Yi Qinghan taught her. She deeply remembered every word that her brother taught her. Jian Qinxue looked at the quiet Yi Mingxi, took a deep breath and said to the parrot, "You guard and Wang. I'll see if I can break through to level 4 bitter sea stage again." Jian Qinxue also sat down quietly and used the mid-grade spiritual crystals to forcefully break through. His face revealed a painful expression. The number of people in Flaming Cloud City decreased rapidly. Soon, it would be the turn of these elites to fight personally. As cannon fodder, no one could escape this catastrophe. Ling Chen, Wang Shiji, Di Kong, Tang Chu. Some people were pale and their guts were torn apart. Some people were cold as ice, unmoved by the tragedy outside. Lu Ning glanced around and noticed Yi Mingxi. A 5-year-old 3 bitter sea stage. She could not help but be shocked. Such a genius could not appear in Shaolong region. Lu Ning came to Lu Outyan's side and asked seriously, "Brother Lu, who is this little girl?" Lu Outyan was stunned. He was afraid that Lu Ning would have some thoughts about Yi Mingxi. He immediately explained, "She is Yi Mingxi, my cousin. What can I do for you? How old is she this year?" Lu Ning looked at the immature Yi Mingxi and asked curiously. "A little over 5 years old, not even 6. Lu Outyan answered honestly. Lu Ning. Yi Lingyu looked at Yi Mingxi. His eyes also showed a touch of gentleness. For a 5-year-old child to cultivate to such a level, her talent was probably enough to scare people to death. She could crush all the emperor-level experts. Let her follow me later. If the city is breached, no one will have a chance. I will try my best to take her away." Lu Ning's aura burst forth, making it impossible to refuse. She stared at Lu Outyan and said with a commanding will. Lu Outyan hesitated for a moment and nodded. It was not that he was irresponsible, but if the city was breached, he would definitely die. Letting Yi Mingxi follow Lu Ning would at least have a chance of survival. Trouble. If Flaming Cloud City is breached, I will do my best to help you leave. Lu Outyan said solemnly. Then, there was silence. It was as if heaven and earth had quieted down. These bastards seemed to have stopped attacking the city. The parrot stared at the void and saw a large group of flying beasts disappearing and descending outside Flaming Cloud City. However, it saw more and more beasts gathering. It immediately shouted, "Not good, they are accumulating power. We are doomed. There are more and more beasts. Next time, Flaming Cloud City will be breached. These brainless beasts, do they have nothing better to do?" The parrot seemed to have forgotten that it was also a flying beast as it cursed loudly. Everyone looked up. It was as the parrot had said. Their hearts sank. Night fell and the snow was still pouring down. The beasts were gathering. The Fate Palace beasts were accumulating power, preparing to attack the city the next morning. The silent world was terrifying. It was so quiet that it made one's hair stand on end. The aura of despair and death filled the sky. Apart from the falling snow, there was nothing else in the sky. The city was filled with helpless cries. The smell of blood was nauseating. Many mortals hugged their children and looked at the sky helplessly, waiting for death to come. Lu Patian and the rest were patrolling. Looking at the tragic situation in Flaming Cloud City, they felt helpless. These were the people of Lu Lan. Everyone, keep your spirits up. The reinforcements will definitely arrive tomorrow. As long as we can survive tonight, we will be the victors. The Fate Palace warriors encouraged the crowd and gave out countless vital elemental pills and other elixirs for free. All the spiritual crystals were taken out as well. At this moment, wealth was no longer a concern. Every bit of strength was good. Many people were stuck at a bottleneck due to the lack of spiritual crystals and elixirs. However, with the Fate Palace warriors giving out free elixirs and spiritual crystals, they were able to break through quickly. After midnight, almost half of the people were breaking through. Their morale was high. Jian Qinxue had broken through to 4-star Bitter Sea and his strength had improved. He was more familiar with the ethereal fairy steps. He stood up gently and took a deep breath. He realized that Yimengshi was still cultivating. There were not many people who could still calm down and cultivate at this time. Yimengshi's body was emitting a milky white light. Her terrifying soul fluctuation was like that of a Grotto Heaven Realm warrior. It shocked many warriors and even attracted the attention of Fate Palace warriors. Yimengshi cultivated the extreme Sky Yuan technique, which relied on her soul. Without a strong soul power, it was impossible to use the extreme Sky Yuan technique to the extreme. Gu gu gu. The crowd could even clearly hear Yimengshi's blood boiling. Her soul fluctuation was getting stronger and stronger. It was so strong that Lu Outyan felt the pressure increase. What a pity for this genius. If she missed today, I would have taken her as my disciple. Venerable Shui Yu walked towards Yimengshi with a pale face and shook her head. The Fate Palace warriors knew that the situation was not good. There was a 90% chance that the Owl Falling Star would be destroyed. There were not many humans left. Even Fate Palace warriors like them could not escape, let alone Yimengshi. There were 9 4th-grade Fate Palace beasts outside the city. There might be more powerful beasts coming tomorrow. As for the humans, there were only 6 Fate Palace warriors. At most, there could be 2 more reinforcements. However, Venerable Shui Yu was still severely injured and did not have much combat power. It was almost foreseeable that the tragedy after the city was destroyed tomorrow would be more than 10 times worse than tonight. Most of those who died today were in the Blood Ignition realm and Bitter Sea realm. Those who died tomorrow would be the younger generation of geniuses, Heavenly Insight realm and even Bitter Sea realm. Time flowed like water. Yi Qinghan, who was still in the cave, increased the speed of condensing. His right arm began to emit a faint pressure as if it was alive. With a slight shake, 10,000 pounds of force gushed out. At full strength, it could definitely kill a Heavenly Insight realm beast. The next day, the boundless flood dragon's bones turned into fine powder. Yi Qinghan moved slightly and the dragon bones disappeared. He stood up calmly, and one could clearly see the difference between his left and right arms. Yi Qinghan summoned a green robe and put it on. His aura became dignified and inviolable. His black hair was as black as ink and fell to his shoulders. A lock of hair covered half of his face. His chiseled handsome face was perfect and flawless. He raised his right hand and his palm faced upwards. The demon dragon saber appeared in his hand. An evil aura entered his body, refining his golden body and turning him into a demon. With a slash of the saber, the cave was split open. The Qin Empress slowly opened her eyes. Two Guqin seals shot out from her eyes and completely blocked her vision. She had broken through and entered the Bitter Sea realm. Although she was only one star of the Bitter Sea realm, no one knew how terrifying the Qin Empress's real combat power was. All the Emperor-level warriors might not be able to defeat her. Chapter 101. Screech. The wind and clouds suddenly changed and the heavy snow stopped abruptly. The god-slaying eagle soared into the sky, its roar shattering the mountains and rivers. The heavy snow rushed in the opposite direction. Outside the city, other than beasts, there were more beasts. All kinds of unknown beasts roared, their roars filling the sky. Tigers ran, causing the earth to shake. Violent Bear pulled up a lone mountain and smashed it against the city wall. Boom boom boom. Roar. The soul-stirring roars caused the heroes to be unable to breathe. Their faces were pale and sweat dripped down. Flaming Cloud City trembled, the city wall cracked. Dozens of Bitter Sea stage experts died on the spot and flew back dozens of meters. Even Grotto Heaven stage experts were not spared. Some of the weaker Grotto Heaven stage experts were bleeding from their 7 orifices, their robes drenched in blood. Defend. The reinforcements are about to arrive. Defend for me. Lu Patian roared and personally went into battle. His true yuan poured into the enchantment seal. The city protection formation shone with a divine light, a rainbow light sprinkling the world. Flaming Cloud City was shaking. The ground cracked open thousands of meters. More than half of the houses collapsed. Countless children wailed and the citizens roared. Blood and bones piled up like mountains. The earth swallowed the blood and bones. The weak complained to the heavens that the end of the world was coming. No one could escape the arrival of fate. It's over. We're all finished. Azure Dragon Holy Man. Please descend once more. Most of the people were shouting and praying to the Azure Dragon Holy Man, hoping that such a hero would appear again to save the people. The Fate Palace experts were full of guilt. Veins popped out all over their bodies. Their true yuan poured out, hoping to stall for a little longer. Unfortunately, the reinforcements did not arrive. They seemed to have given up on Flaming Cloud City. Boom. Violent Bear attacked again. Baring its teeth, its mountain-like arms smashed the lone mountain through the Flaming Cloud City wall. The city wall collapsed. Hundreds of experts fell under the city wall and were shaken to death. Even if they did not die, they were smashed to death by the rocks. It was a tragic scene. The city was broken. 1,000-mile dike collapsed because of an ant's nest. A part of the city collapsed and the entire city wall collapsed. The city protection formation broke by itself. Heavens! Ah! The Grotto Heaven stage experts that fell from the city wall did not even have time to react before they were killed by the birds. Their flesh and blood were swallowed and not even their bones were left. Kill! The Fate Palace warriors were furious. Ethereal force poured out from their palms and turned into giant hands that covered the sky, pouncing on the beasts. Screech! 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 The god-slaying eagle let out a shrill roar, commanding all the beasts to run. The wild bear was unstoppable, pressing towards Lu Patian. The mad tiger dashed over, leaping 1,000 meters and stopping Tangsheng. A god-slaying eagle's sharp claws tore through the sky and headed straight for Venerable Water Moon. It seemed to remember him. Regardless of quantity or quality, how could Flaming Cloud City withstand the assault of the beast horde? Furthermore, the city walls had already been breached and the city protection array had been opened. What awaited them was only death. The various experts were unafraid of death. At this time, whether they retreated or fought, they would die. They might as well fight until the heavens fell and the earth rend. Their blood dyed the battlefield red. As expected of heroes. Kill. Killing one is enough, killing two is a profit. Ling Chen took the lead. His broken dragon blade whizzed past and his foot shattered the ground. With a flash of his blade, the dragon's roar resounded throughout Flaming Cloud City, inspiring the heroes. Wang Shiji's eyes gleamed coldly. The ancient sword in his hand exuded an ancient aura. With a flick of the tip of the sword, countless sword shadows were drawn. Wherever the shadows passed, the beasts screamed and blood splattered. Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu looked at each other. They spread their wings and fought side by side, cooperating with each other, ready to escape at any time. There were 9 fourth-grade beasts in total, but there were only 6 Fate Palace warriors among the humans. Unable to form a resistance, Lu Patian and the rest retreated. They could not help but roar at the sky. Heaven, please open your eyes. Are the billions of lives on Owl Falling Star going to be eaten by the beasts? Screech. The god-slaying eagle responded with a mournful screech. More beasts came forward one after another. As far as the eye could see, it was a black mass that made one feel hopeless. Yi Mengxi protected Wang Shi. She pressed her palms on both sides of her head. Her eyes were like torches. Suddenly, her soul released an even more powerful wave. The 4 spiritual swords on her back were unsheathed. They pierced through the void. The sword light was like a rainbow. Wherever it passed, it was indestructible and penetrated the bodies of the beasts. The 4 spiritual swords formed a huge whirlpool around her. They turned into countless spiritual swords and shredded the sky. The cold light was oppressive and looked extremely terrifying. Sword manipulation technique. Ancient sword manipulation technique. A 5-year-old girl used her divine sense to control 4 spiritual swords. She displayed the power of the ancient sword manipulation technique. Swish, swish, swish. The sword light was like a rainbow. The white light illuminated the sky. With Yi Mengxi and the other 2 as the base, no beasts could get close to them within a radius of 20 meters. Countless beasts below 3rd grade would die if they got close to Yi Mengxi. The 4th grade spiritual sword set had become a meat grinder on the battlefield, shocking countless people. Yi Mengxi's pearl-like eyes opened and captured people's souls. Extreme space splitting. Whoosh, the spiritual swords were like immortal swords. They were indestructible and unstoppable. They pierced through the void. The Grotto Heaven Realm beasts had unparalleled defense, but they could not stop the spiritual swords from obliterating them. Hundreds of beasts' bodies fell from the sky. Flaming Cloud City was raining blood. The spiritual swords stirred up heaven and earth, forming a violent wind. Yi Mengxi kept protecting Wang Shi as they retreated. More and more mortals gathered behind them, hoping to escape with the help of this little fairy. Yi Mengxi's divine sense was extremely powerful. It was so powerful that it was unimaginable. She could control 4 spiritual swords at the same time without any difficulty. Too powerful. Many young powerhouses were excited. A 5-year-old girl could hold her own. Why couldn't they? Kill. For our clansmen behind us. Dozens of young powerhouses were not afraid of death. They pulled out their swords and pounced on the ferocious beasts. However, it was all in vain because the upper level determined everything. The opponent had 9 Fate Palace realm beasts. Soon, Wild Tiger gave up on attacking Xianyuanyu with Wild Bear. He pounced on Yi Mengxi with his sinister fangs. His roar was earth-shattering. Yi Mengxi's eyes flashed. She hid her shock and said hurriedly without looking back, "Sister Shui, take mother away. I'll buy you some time." The parrot stared at little Mengxi. It still had some feelings for Mengxi. How could it allow her to die here? It shouted at Yi Mengxi, "You guys retreat. I'll play with this big tiger." The parrot's figure flashed and cut through the void. It hid its chi in blood, like an ordinary bird, rushed to the front of the rank 4 Wild Tiger. Wild Tiger was furious. It roared and its chi almost sent the parrot flying. It waved its forelimbs and smashed at the parrot. The parrot's speed was unparalleled. Yimengshi was no match for it. She flew sideways and dodged Wild Tiger's attack. She ran to the side of Wild Tiger's head. "How dare you use force on your divine bird grandpa? Watch out for my fire. I'll burn you to death, you mindless bastard." The parrot shouted and spat out a huge flame. It covered the sky and the earth and set the tiger's fur on fire. Roar! Roar! Wild Tiger thought that the parrot was just an ordinary bird and did not pay much attention to it. It only felt that it was blocking its attack path and was ready to kill it. However, it did not expect the flame to engulf it. Its fur was instantly burned and its skin was stinging as if it was cut by a knife. However, the flame was still burning. It could only roll and roar desperately. Everyone saw a huge furless tiger rolling and crushing hundreds of ferocious beasts. Some humans were also crushed and died on the spot. The parrot was not going to let it go. It chased after Wild Tiger and spat. "I'll burn it." Whoosh! Lu Patian and the others were overjoyed. They did not expect Yimengshi to have a spiritual pet that could fight a Fate Palace realm ferocious beast. "This is a chance. We might not die." Lu Patian saw hope. There were only 2 Fate Palace realm warriors between them. The other Fate Palace realm warriors also saw the problem. They all exploded with power, hoping to kill a Fate Palace realm ferocious beast. "Let's team up and stop a Fate Palace realm warrior." Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning shouted at Ling Chen and Wang Shiji. For young kings, 3 Grotto Heaven realm warriors and 1 9 stars of the Bitter Sea realm. Perhaps they could really stop a Fate Palace realm warrior. The 4 of them cooperated seamlessly and used the formation that kings were best at, the 4 talents formation. They advanced and retreated in an orderly manner. Their attacks were unparalleled. They pounced on the rhinoceros monster and shared a part of the attack with Lu Patian. The pressure on Lu Patian was greatly reduced. He focused on fighting the winged panther. Suddenly, he was full of vigor and began to counterattack. Until now, only Master Shui Yu was in a more miserable state. She was covered in blood and was surrounded by 2 god-slaying eagles. She could die at any time, but no one could help her. Screech with a shrill cry, a god-slaying eagle's sharp claws pierced through the void and grabbed Master Shui Yu's arms, tearing them apart. "Ah!" Master Shui Yu screamed and fell from the void. The favorable situation that had just appeared turned back into a hopeless situation. Within the cave residence on the cliff, Yi Qinghan had spent a night refining the Azure Dragon arm, successfully breaking through to the 5th star of the Bitter Sea realm and entering the Gone Sea realm. His true essence had undergone a qualitative change. The Sea of Qi had become a true sea of ethereal force. The little person in Yi Qinghan's Sea of Consciousness held the berserk hammer. He rode the wind and broke through the waves, splitting the heaven and earth. He went straight to the other side of the endless bitter sea hell. He watched the evolution of chaos and cultivated the origin of the world. As soon as the little person entered the bitter sea hell, his heart demon was born. The battle of Shao Zhanxing appeared in his Sea of Consciousness again. The little person's eyes were red and his saber roared. "Kill! Those who block me, kill!" Yi Qinghan's eyes turned red from the killing. It was as if he was looking at those cruel and unscrupulous friends of his. Every one of them looked as if they were mourning the heavens, but in reality, they were extremely vicious. They took advantage of his loyalty and deceived him to strengthen themselves. For the sake of their own greed, they betrayed him and even annihilated the entire Yi clan. To these people, there was only hatred. Other than hatred, there was no other emotion. Kill. Other than killing, there was no other way. Gradually, Yi Qinghan was lost in the endless sea of killing and suffering. His face was ferocious and filled with killing intent. He had turned into a mad demon. The Qin emperor was awakened by Yi Qinghan's madness. He asked softly, "Teacher, are you okay?" But Yi Qinghan did not respond at all. In order to overcome the powerful heart demon and suffering, he went all out and did not leave a bit of his consciousness outside. Therefore, he could not hear the Qin emperor's call. Chapter 102. The sea of bitterness was boundless, and the demons in one's heart were everywhere. Even if one were to overcome all obstacles, it would still be difficult to cross the sea of bitterness. Yi Qinghan transformed into the god of war. His golden light shone brightly, blocking countless demons. However, he still could not move forward. The demons in one's heart came from the deepest memories that one did not want to talk about. Owl War Star, the Wang family, and the dead Yi Qinghan. The voices of blame were endless, and it was unbearable. You liar! You took over my body. You promised to take care of my mother and sister. They are in a desperate situation, but you are a coward. What kind of hero are you? The dead Yi Qinghan roared ferociously, his hatred overflowing to the heavens. Brother, save me! The weak Yi Mengshi was dragged into the depths of the sea of bitterness by the demons. She struggled and screamed in pain. Huff, huff, huff. Yi Qinghan's breathing was rapid. The little man in the sea of bitterness swung his saber. His clothes were fluttering in the wind. His hair was as black as ink, flying behind him. Amitba, the sea of bitterness is boundless. Turn back and you will see the shore. The other side of the sea of bitterness is the endless abyss of hell. Anyone who enters it will turn into a demon and bring disaster to the world. Turn back and be an ordinary person. Didn't the death of Owl War Star in your previous life wake you up? Shura Yi Qinghan's Buddhist light shone brightly. His dharma was boundless and spread in all directions, blocking Yi Qinghan's path. Yi Qinghan, aren't you a self-proclaimed hero? Countless living beings in Owl Fall Star are crying and begging. Why are you so indifferent? Coward, so what if the divine martial imperial codex is in your hands? Give it to me now. Emperor Shenyi stood proudly in front of Yi Qinghan, crushing countless demons with his sword. Kill! Kill! The little man in the sea of bitterness was like a madman. He summoned the devil dragon saber and slashed crazily. Wherever the saber passed, the sea of bitterness would overturn and the demons in one's heart would die. Boom! Emperor Shenyi was the first to be killed. His body was torn apart and his blood dyed the sea of bitterness red. All of you should die. Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse and cold. His entire body was enveloped by a baleful aura. It was very likely that the demon dragon saber would counterattack. Flipping blade technique. With a flip of the demon dragon saber, a cold light illuminated the sea of sufferings. With one slash, the Azura Qianyi was scattered, and the Buddhist light instantly dispersed. But in front of him, Yi Mengshi was still struggling, Yi Qinghan was still criticizing him, and the countless living beings of Owl Fall Planet were still begging him, making it difficult for him to advance. The heart demon was using Yi Qinghan's mentality to block his path, making it impossible for him to cross the sea of bitterness. Yi Mengshi and the others were indeed a dead knot in his heart. The tragic deaths of countless living beings was not something he wanted to see. The current Owl Falling Star was indeed the same as the Owl War Star of the past. It was also a helpless creature, begging and wailing, but it was completely useless. It was still being slaughtered by the savage enemy. The weak had no right to complain about unfairness. The heavens were unfair to begin with, so how could living beings be fair? Only the strong could go against the heavens and use their fists to fight for their own fairness. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. He gripped his saber tightly, looking extremely ferocious. Whoosh, another figure flashed past and blocked Yi Qinghan's path. His tender face was as white as jade, without any blemishes. His long hair fluttered in the wind. His eyes were dim, and his face was filled with worry. "Master, you have taught me that as long as I have a clear conscience, even if the heart demon is born, I will still have to walk on it. Only then will I be able to condense my will. Everything in front of me is just an illusion. Master, please let go of the obsession in your heart and cross the heart demon first before saving the people." The illusory figure of the Qin Emperor was lifelike. His voice was like the sound of nature, calming the heart of Yi Qinghan, who was agitated, instantly calming down. The Qin Emperor was perhaps the only pure land in Yi Qinghan's heart. He did not have any heart demons. Yi Qinghan smiled. His killing intent dissipated, and he nodded solemnly. With a howl, he charged into the depths of the sea of bitterness like a sharp sword. Wherever he passed, the heart demons were all dispersed. The Qin Emperor's figure turned into specks of light and dispersed. His original body in the cave spat out a mouthful of essence blood, and his face was as white as paper. Forcefully breaking open Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness consumed too much energy. Perhaps only someone like the Qin Emperor, who had achieved the union of heaven and man, could break open Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness of a Grand Marshal Venerable. The Qin Emperor took out some mid-grade spirit crystals and quickly healed his injured soul. This time, he forcefully entered the sea of consciousness of a Grand Marshal Venerable. Although he was slightly injured, he had benefited greatly. However, it was fortunate that Yi Qinghan did not attack him. Otherwise, he would have died in the sea of consciousness and become a living dead. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was riding the wind and breaking the waves. The sea of bitterness of a Grand Marshal Venerable was vast and boundless. His figure moved quickly as if he was speeding in the endless universe. The sea of bitterness had no heart demons, and it became the most beautiful galaxy. After an unknown period of time, Yi Qinghan's eyes flickered with a bright light. He looked at the primal chaos pouring down in front of him. Thick bolts of lightning struck down from the sky. Countless sources of the great Tao were born, and an aura of the vicissitudes of time rushed towards him. He was restless and excited. The origin aura that could shake one's Tao heart covered the heavens and the earth. The myriad Taos of the heavens and the earth filled the entire land of chaos. From nothingness to existence, from illusion to reality, it was slowly being born. Yi Qinghan's eyes widened. He didn't want to miss a single moment. The more he looked, the more his soul would change. He would have a better understanding of the great Tao, origins, and laws. Heaven and earth were divided into yin and yang, and yin and yang transformed into a myriad of things. All things evolved into countless living beings, and the universe was endless. The great Tao of yin and yang was filled with chaos, forming a huge yin-yang 8 trigrams diagram that hung in the void and stole one's soul. Reincarnation, order, destruction, chaos, and life were derived from yin and yang. They were known as the great Tao of heaven and earth, and together with yin and yang, they were known as the 6 paths. The 6 paths continued to evolve and split into 3,000 minor paths. Everything was a path, and every grain of sand was a world. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath as he greedily watched the chaos being reborn, destroyed, and reborn. Countless bolts of lightning intertwined to form a net of light that was indestructible and unbreakable. After watching for an unknown period of time, Yi Qinghan entered the chaos alone with his saber. He accepted the baptism of the chaos and the refinement of the great Tao. Yi Qinghan was fighting in his own battlefield while Flaming Cloud City became hell. It was evolving the great Tao of reincarnation. Countless living beings died tragically. Even those of the Fate Palace realm could not escape death. Supremacy Shueiyue fell from mid-air, but the god-slaying eagle swooped down from the sky. Its sharp claws pierced through his chest. His heart was ripped out and devoured by the god-slaying eagle. The other god-slaying eagle devoured Supremacy Shueiyue's corpse directly. The vigorous blood qi was completely refined by the god-slaying eagle before it could dissipate. A living Fate Palace realm cultivator was killed. It made everyone understand how tragic the war was. Anyone could die, including those of the Fate Palace realm. Roar! Roar! The mad tiger was enraged. His burnt skin rolled on the ground. Instantly, his skin split open and his flesh was exposed. The fragrance of meat permeated Flaming Cloud City, covering the stench of blood. The parrot chased after him relentlessly, spitting out fire. Both parties were exhausted. Roar! Roar! I'm so tired. I'll let you off this time. If you offend me again, I'll burn you alive. Roar! Boom! The wild tiger roared. All of its golden fur had been burned away, and it was now a bald tiger. It looked incomparably ugly, and its fangs were exposed. The vicious light in its eyes was self-evident as it stared fixedly at the parrot. The god-slaying eagle's sharp eyes were filled with respect and greed. The conflicting look could be seen in the eyes of almost every fourth-grade beast. Roar! 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 A 8th-grade divine beast. Even if it was just a cub, its aura alone could suppress any beast below 8th grade. This was completely related to the bloodline. Although there was a huge difference between a rank 4 and a rank 5 bloodline, these ferocious rank 4 beasts didn't have much of a soul. Greed was their nature. Encountering a rank 5 bloodline like the parrot, who didn't have much strength, obviously made them greedy. Roar! Roar! How dare you look at this divine bird with such a gaze? Have you eaten a leopard's guts? Roar! 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 In fact, it was more afraid than anyone else. If it had the strength, it would have run away. The god-slaying eagle and the other 4th-grade life palace beasts stopped attacking. The humans took the opportunity to take a break and began to retreat, preparing to form the 3rd line of defense. Yi Mingxi gestured for Jian Qinxue to take Wang Shi away. She wanted to retreat but dared not as the 9 life palace beasts were staring at her. Roar! 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 Yi Mingxi could only retreat slowly. Roar! Hurry up and recover your strength. Yi Mingxi cried. The roar was weak. It regretted eating the demon god fruit but did not have the strength to protect itself. Now, the life palace beasts coveted its qi and blood, putting it in danger. Boom! Roar! 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 Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air and turned to look. They were not willing to see Yi Mingxi being slapped to death. Lu Ningyu had just spread her wings and was about to rescue Yi Mingxi when she saw Yi Mingxi riding her sword as fast as lightning. She broke through the void and soared into the sky. Although she was not at the Grotto Heaven realm and could not fly, Yi Mingxi was the first to use the sword manipulation technique to fly. Whoosh! Although she was not very familiar with the sword manipulation technique and was swaying in the air, her speed was very fast. Everyone screamed in fear. Shriek! The 2 god-slaying eagles seemed to see hope. They pounced on Yi Mingxi and let out a shrill cry. Their huge wings covered the sky as they attacked from the front and back. How could a little kid like Yi Mingxi stop 2 Fate Palace-level ferocious beasts? Watch out! Lu Ning was shocked. She waved her 5th-grade vibrating spirit wings and flapped the sky. The airflow reversed and her figure moved. She directly caught Yi Mingxi who was falling from the sky. However, since the god-slaying eagles had decided to attack, they did not care about the noble bloodline of the roar. They tore through the void with their sharp claws and pounced on Lu Ningyu. As the god-slaying eagles moved, the rest of the beasts moved as well. They pounced on the people of Huiyun City again. This wave of attacks made the Life Palace realm warriors despair. Hum! Hum! A heavenly sound resonated in the void as if it came from the ancient celestial dynasty. It turned into heavenly music that touched all living things and suppressed all Tao. The rank for God-slaying eagles lost control and fell to the ground. Everyone was shocked and looked out of the city. Chapter 103. The beasts stopped their attacks and turned back to look. They saw a vigorous figure in the distance. His face was like jade, and he was handsome to the point of being devilish. His long hair danced in the wind, and his black clothes fluttered. He held a demon knife that was filled with baleful aura as he walked step by step towards Fire Cloud City, the city of death. What shocked the crowd even more was that there was a little girl sitting on the man's shoulder. She was hugging a glowing guqin. Her jade-like fingers plucked the strings lightly. The sound of the guqin could freeze everything in the world. It's him. Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu recognized Yi Qinghan immediately. He was the man they chased into the mountains. The devil dragon saber's aura soared into the sky and the air currents collided. Yi Qinghan and Qin Shi Huang's black hair danced in the wind and their robes fluttered. Every step they took was in harmony with the most beautiful melody in the world. Such a perfect couple was like a fairy that walked out from a fairyland. They were in harmony with everything. A slight movement of their fingertips could elicit the response of all the Daos. This shocked the Fate Palace cultivators. He is the one who bought the green dragon saber from the green dragon holy man. Ha ha ha. With the green dragon saber out, all the demons will submit. We are saved. Someone shouted and it resonated with the remaining cultivators of Huiyin City. They were filled with fighting spirit and killing intent. Green Dragon. Green Dragon. Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer. Even though the crowd did not know the real name of the devil dragon saber, they still treated it as a sacred item and a symbol of faith because it represented the green dragon holy man. Lu Ning landed on the ground with Yi Mengxi in her arms. She stared at Yi Qinghan who was coming from afar. Her Taoist heart was in a mess. She frowned but could not remember his name. Yi Lingyu took a deep breath. His eyes were filled with complex emotions that could not be explained with words. Who is he? The Fate Palace cultivators looked at each other. They had never seen Yi Qinghan before but they recognized the devil dragon saber. It was heavy but in Yi Qinghan's hands, it was as light as a feather. Lu Patian and the others looked at Lu Outyan. All the Fate Palace warriors knew that the devil's dragon blade was taken away by room number 7. Room number 7 was Lu Outyan's room. Lu Outyan's face was flushed with excitement. It was as if seeing Yi Qinghan was enough to save Flaming Cloud City and Lu Lan. Looking at Yi Qinghan, Zero Chen's heart palpitated. This time, looking at Yi Qinghan was completely different from the last time. Although Yi Qinghan was unfathomable in the past, looking at Yi Qinghan now was like looking at the endless universe. One would never be able to explore its depths. He's become so strong. However, his realm didn't increase by much. He's only at 6 stars of the Bitter Sea realm. He's still far from the Grotto Heaven realm, but when I look at him, I feel that he's even more terrifying than the Fate Palace realm. Ling Chen stared at Wang Shizhi, trying to get his approval. Although Wang Shizhi was an invincible challenger and was confident that he was invincible in the same realm, looking at Yi Qinghan, he felt that he would not be able to withstand more than 100 moves from Yi Qinghan. Even if he had a great advantage in terms of realm. If Zero Chen and Yi Qinghan's aura were that of a challenger, then Yi Qinghan's aura was that of a supreme. Among the supreme of the same realm, there was no one who could stand shoulder to shoulder with him. Jian Qinshua looked at Yi Qinghan who was approaching from afar and exhaled. He finally felt that he had someone to rely on. He was no longer a duckweed in the ocean that could be drowned by the beasts at any time. Yi Qinghan quickly arrived at Flaming Cloud City. Looking at the corpses on the ground, he was expressionless. He was used to seeing life and death. What kind of situation had he not seen before? Qin Huang's divine perception spread out and imprinted the hellish scene in Flaming Cloud City in his mind. His face was gloomy as he gently plucked the 9 strings with his 5 fingers. The sound of nature intimidated millions of beasts. These beasts were like pets that had been tamed. They stayed where they were and listened to the sound of the zither. The god-slaying eagle's sharp eyes stared at the devil-dragon saber in Yi Qinghan's hand. There was respect, hatred, and anger in his eyes. His sharp claws tore the void and his wings flapped the sky. However, he did not dare to approach. Qi Ning was overjoyed. Seeing Qin Huang establishing his power, he immediately shouted, "It's the son of the Qin clan, Qin Huang. The future ruler of the Qin clan." Qin Ying's shamelessness was comparable to the parrot's. Earlier, he betrayed Qin Huang without hesitation. Now, he was trying to get more benefits. Even the parrot was speechless. It glanced at him coldly and curled its lips in disdain. It didn't even have the strength to mock him. Qin Haren's face twitched. He looked at Qin Huang, who was plucking the zither and intimidating all living beings. His eyes were filled with jealousy and viciousness. "He's just a blind man. Why didn't Yi Qinghan train me? Why did he train this lowly blind man? They're all blind." Qin Haren cursed in his heart. He thought that Qin Huang was trained by Yi Qinghan. He didn't know that it was her own talent and hard work. Yi Qinghan lifted the saber and stood in the middle of the beasts and humans. He was like an insurmountable trench. The gloomy devil-dragon saber emitted a supreme dragon aura that intimidated the 4th-rank god-slaying eagle. There were only 300,000 people left in the millions of cities. The rest were either dead or severely injured. Now, they were all looking at the imposing figure with tears in their eyes. "Qin Huang, you're finally back. The tens of billions of people in Lulan and Shaoyun Star are counting on you to save them." Qin Ying's tears flowed freely. He didn't know how to squeeze out a few drops of tears. It was as if he knew from the beginning that Qin Huang could save the people. So it's a child of the Qin clan. Thank you, Taoist Qin Huang, for saving the people. I'll thank you first. Lu Patian and the other powerful warriors of the Fate Palace realm cupped their fists and said. Qi Ning had a proud expression as if it was more glorious than praising himself. "No. I'm not Qin Huang. I'm Emperor Yi, Yi as in Yi Zi. Emperor as in emperor. I have nothing to do with the Qin clan. My only relative is my master." A crisp voice accompanied by the sound of the guqin whistled past and resounded throughout Flaming Cloud City. It was like a sudden clap of thunder that reached everyone's ears. Emperor Yi. Yi as in Yi Zi, emperor as in emperor. What a good Emperor Yi. Determination appeared on his young face. He sat on Yi Qinghan's broad shoulders and played the guqin with his small hands. He didn't have to worry about any assassination because Yi Qinghan was below. The corner of Qin Ying's mouth twitched. He wanted to use Emperor Yi to take credit for the Qin clan. He didn't expect to be slapped in the face in front of everyone. "You bitch. Do you think you can abandon the Qin clan just because you learned some skills? I am the future patriarch of the Qin clan. From today onwards, you are expelled from the Qin clan. There is no such person as you in the Qin clan." Qin Haren was enraged and didn't care about his feelings as he roared hysterically. Yi Qinghan coldly glanced at Qin Haren. He pointed his long saber and the sharp saber aura cut through the air, causing everyone to feel a piercing pain. "Kneel. Apologize. Otherwise, only death awaits." The cold voice was filled with orders that couldn't be disobeyed. From the moment Emperor Yi took the initiative to announce her as Emperor Yi in front of everyone, Yi Qinghan would never allow anyone to humiliate her. Damn bastard. This old man hasn't even said anything. Who do you think you are? Kneel down and kowtow to your sister to admit your mistakes. Pa pa. Qin Ying's face was malevolent and filled with rage. He ruthlessly slapped Qin Haren's face a few times. That sound made everyone feel bitter and satisfied. Qin Haren's legs were broken by Qin Ying's palm strike, causing him to kneel on the ground. Qin Haren trembled under Yi Qinghan's cold stare. He felt that death was about to befall him. He didn't even care about his dignity and kowtowed repeatedly to apologize. I don't have time to waste my breath with an ignorant kid like you. This is the last chance I'm giving you. It's also because of Emperor Yi. Next time, what awaits you is death. Scram! Yi Qinghan waved his demon saber. His aura rushed out and sent Qin Haren flying. Many people felt secretly satisfied when the clown was sent flying. They also understood why Emperor Yi was so determined. Screech! The god-slaying eagle was hundreds of meters away. It let out a mournful cry and flapped its wings, trying to mobilize millions of dire beasts to launch a counterattack. However, the sound of the guqin was heard again and a vision appeared. The shadow of a divine dragon and a phoenix roared in the sky, suppressing the dire beasts. Although the mad tiger was wild, it wasn't stupid. It only hated the parrot. Its ferocious gaze was fixed on the parrot on Yi Mengxi's shoulder. It couldn't wait to devour its bones. The parrot looked at Yi Qinghan, and then flew with all its might, and landed on Yi Qinghan's left shoulder. It looked at Yi Qinghan with a smug look on its face, and said proudly, "Just now, in order to save the young master, I burned this big tiger until not even its fur was left." Yi Qinghan looked at the mad tiger. Indeed, there wasn't a single strand of hair left. Its body was also emitting the fragrance of meat. If it wasn't strong enough, it would have been torn apart and eaten by other dire beasts. He was speechless. A dignified Fate Palace dire beast had been tricked by the parrot. However, before Yi Qinghan could praise it, the parrot cried out sadly, "Master, you have to save me. These bastards wanted to devour my flesh and blood. If I had known, I wouldn't have eaten the demonic god fruit." Everyone who attended the auction immediately understood that the demonic god fruit had been eaten by the parrot. Xian Yuanyu's mouth twitched. He wanted to be angry but didn't have the chance. At this moment, he couldn't afford to lose his temper. In the end, he glared at the parrot angrily. However, the parrot pretended not to see it. Its skin was thicker than the great city defense array. Yi Qinghan looked at the parrot's wretched appearance and didn't want to say anything more. No one knew this despicable bird better than he did. It didn't want to take advantage of others. Screech the god-slaying eagle cried out angrily again. However, Emperor Ye's zither music rose and fell. None of the beasts were willing to move. They quietly listened to the sound of nature. Some of the ferocious beasts even stretched their bodies. Yi Qinghan slowly turned around and took a step forward. His saber qi swept out. His evil aura and murderous aura shook the 9 heavens. The god-slaying eagle and Yi Qinghan looked at each other. Their eyes were sharp. Sparks of electricity flashed. The pressure in the void became much heavier. Yi Qinghan held his saber and took advantage of the situation. It was as if a Taoist had descended. With his back facing the common people, he actually calmed down the panicked crowd. On his shoulder, Emperor Ye's clothes fluttered in the wind. His beautiful hair fluttered in the wind. A faint divine nature lingered around him. It made people and beasts feel intoxicated. The parrot took advantage of the situation to be arrogant. It threw the idea of canceling the contract to the back of its mind. It said happily, "Ha ha ha, Master is wise and mighty. You little bastards, why don't you kneel down and submit to me and be my underlings?" Roar! The wild tiger was furious. As a rank 4 ferocious beast, although they didn't have the high intelligence of humans, it didn't mean that they couldn't understand human language. At this moment it was already dizzy with anger from the parrot. It couldn't wait to pounce on it. However, Yi Qinghan used the aura of a great martial venerable to suppress the heavens. Emperor Yi played the zither to control the blood and qi of the beasts. It didn't dare to attack without permission. Chapter 104. The furious tiger roared, breaking the control of the melody. Thousands of beasts roared in unison, and heaven and earth wailed. The parrot no longer dared to be arrogant, and hid behind Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's eyes were cold, and the devil dragon saber exploded with a monstrous aura, as if it wanted to destroy everything in the world. Perhaps only he could control the devil dragon saber and unleash its true power. The devil dragon saber was unwilling to be the spirit of the saber, and it wanted to break the shackles and reconstruct its golden body. Every time the owner of the devil dragon saber used it, he would be devoured. This was the curse of the devil dragon saber. The Azure Dragon founder was also devoured by the devil dragon saber, and that was why he died together with the fourth-grade dire beast. Otherwise, his future would have been bright. His clothes and long hair fluttered in the wind. When he lifted the devil dragon saber, the wind and clouds surged. Everything in the world has its own Tao. The demonic valley is your home. Why do you want to harm the world? The hoarse voice enveloped Flaming Cloud City, and the vicissitudes of life made people feel reverence. Yi Qinghan looked like he was only 18 or 19 years old, but his body emitted the aura of a 1,000-year-old civilization. The rings of history appeared on his body. Fellow Taoist, it's impossible to reason with them. Every 1,000 years, the beast tide will kill tens of millions of cultivators. If they have intelligence, how can they not know how to cultivate and live in peace? Xianyuan Yu said in a low voice. Yi Qinghan shook his head. Everything had intelligence, and these dire beasts were just low-level dire beasts without intelligence. They were not like the powerful ancient dire beasts in the endless universe. They had intelligence, but they wanted to rule the endless universe and destroy the human race. With thousands of races working together, the human race would suffer greatly. Screech! A shrill eagle cry was heard, and thousands of dire beasts responded. They roared and attacked Emperor Ye's mind, interrupting the disturbance of the music. Emperor Ye's face was as white as paper, and his soul was severely injured. The divine Guqin shrank back into his palm, and the momentum of the world changed. Brother, can you help us stall one of the Fate Palace Realm dire beast? If you can stall one, we will have a chance to wait for reinforcements. Xianyuan Yu and the other Fate Palace Realm dire beasts looked at Yi Qinghan expectantly and asked. The remaining tens of thousands of Bitter Sea and Grotto Heaven Realm experts stared at Yi Qinghan, treating Yi as their last life-saving straw. The veins on Yi Qinghan's right arm bulged as he gripped the devil dragon saber so tightly that it almost broke. He stared at the 9 fourth-grade Fate Palace beasts and then looked at the humans. There were only 5 Fate Palace beasts and 4 regal ranked masters, which meant that there were only 6 Fate Palace beasts. Including himself, there were 7 of them with 2 Fate Palace beasts in between. Parrot, I'll give you a mission. Lure Mad Tiger away. Complete this mission and I'll reward you. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Dire beasts, dire beasts, dire beasts, cut the crap. Yi Qinghan was slightly angered. If this lowly bird wasn't beaten, it wouldn't become a talent. As soon as the parrot saw Yi Qinghan getting angry, it suddenly trembled and muttered, "AI, the saying, capable people do more work, is really true. I'll suffer a bit and tease Wild Tiger a bit more." Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and glanced at the powerful ferocious beasts such as the god-slaying eagle. Then, he fixed his gaze on the rhinoceros monster. This creature was extremely powerful. Its hide could block the attack of an ordinary 5th-grade combat weapon, and its horn could even break the defense of a Tao master. However, this creature was not much of a threat to Yi Qinghan. Although it was fast, it was not faster than the extreme divine dragon steps. Although its defense was strong, it could not block the attack of the Devil Dragon saber held by Azure Dragon arm. Kill the rhinoceros monster first and end the battle quickly before fighting the violent bear. Perhaps Flaming Cloud City's crisis could be resolved. Yi Qinghan made up his mind. He nodded and said, "I'll kill the rhinoceros monster. You guys hold the other ferocious beasts back for half an incense's time. I'll support you." Everyone was stunned. Half an incense's time. He could kill the rhinoceros monster. Did he think he was a Tao master? Even an ordinary Tao master would find it difficult to kill the rhinoceros monster quickly. Yi Qinghan raised the corner of his mouth and smiled coldly. As the saying goes, even the most powerful creature in the world could be restrained. However, he was the nemesis of the rhinoceros monster. Killing the rhinoceros monster did not show how powerful he was. It could only be said that he was the rhinoceros monster's natural enemy. The parrot did not wait for the others to attack. It swallowed countless elixirs and spiritual fruits in the universe ring and quickly recovered its true core strength. It flew into the sky and charged towards Wild Tiger, shouting, "Bald Kitty, come and fight with your grandpa Divine Bird. This Divine Bird will let you have 3 moves." When Wild Tiger saw the parrot, he immediately lost control. He did not care about the others. His mountain-like limbs smashed the ground as he pounced towards the parrot. However, the parrot did not fight him head-on. It used its speed to rush out of Flaming Cloud City. It was even cursing, afraid that Wild Tiger would not follow it out of Flaming Cloud City. Wild Tiger would not let it escape. He crushed countless ferocious beasts along the way and rushed out of the city. In order to avoid Wild Tiger, the ferocious beasts outside the city ran away and broke the attacking formation. Screech the God-slaying eagle was furious. It wanted Wild Tiger to calm down, but Wild Tiger pretended not to hear it. He only wanted to kill the parrot, completely disrupting the ferocious beast's attack. Xianyuan Yu and the others were overjoyed. This was the best opportunity. They immediately waved their swords and jumped up. Some rushed towards the God-slaying eagle, some rushed towards the sky leopard. They cooperated and took care of each other. They only wanted to delay the rhinoceros monster for half an incense's time. Whether Yi Qinghan could kill the rhinoceros monster or not, it was at least a chance. Yi Qinghan raised his right arm, and his aura tore his clothes apart. His right arm glowed with a golden light, like a peerless saber that could destroy anything. The aura of the demon dragon saber in his hand was even more powerful. "Sit tight. Help me suppress the rhinoceros monster for a breath's time." Yi Qinghan did not let go of Emperor Yi. The two of them were one. The tip of their feet crushed the ground. Their aura was like a rainbow. The demon dragon saber flashed with a dazzling saber radiance. It broke the shackles of the void and went straight for the rhinoceros monster. The rhinoceros monster had huge horns. Its 4 limbs shook the ground as it ran towards Yi Qinghan. If it ran like this, it would be enough to smash a Tao master's body. However, Yi Qinghan did not dodge. He sneered and poured his vital essence into his right arm and the demon dragon saber. He borrowed the power of heaven and earth and roared. It was so deafening that it was about to collapse. Soul Snatch. Soul Snatch with a saber. It snatched the enemy's mind and soul. The demon dragon saber was like lightning. It directly hit the bottom of the rhinoceros horn. Boom! The force of the collision soared into the sky. Sand and pebbles flew. No one could calculate the force of the collision between the man and beast. No one could calculate how much force Yi Qinghan had used. However, the scene that followed made the people of Flaming Cloud City roar and cheer. Flipping saber style. Yi Qinghan's right arm suddenly exerted force. The demon dragon saber's aura soared. It lifted the rhinoceros monster that weighed several tons into the air. The rhinoceros monster felt that it had hit an iron mountain. It could not move Yi Qinghan at all. Its horn was about to be broken by the saber. It lost control of its body and fell backward. Just as it was about to regain control of its body, the sound of the guqin suddenly became impatient. It covered the sky and earth. It broke through its consciousness with an unstoppable force and caused it to fall into the crowd of demonic beasts. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air as they looked at Yi Qinghan's weak body. Not only was he able to clash head-on with the rhinoceros monster, he was even able to send it flying. They couldn't help but shudder, wondering if Yi Qinghan was the monster beast or the rhinoceros monster. The moment the rhinoceros monster's soul was suppressed, Yi Qinghan took advantage of the situation. The demon dragon saber left his hand and shouted, 12 forms of the hand saber. Swish! 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 Saber beams shot out in all directions. The air was shattered into pieces. After every saber strike, everyone could clearly see a crack in space. It made their hair stand on end. The rhinoceros hide that was comparable to a 5th-grade armor could not withstand the attack of the demon dragon saber. Immediately, blood splattered everywhere. Miserable cries could be heard. The mournful roars caused the low-grade demonic beasts to frantically flee into the distance. When the god-slaying eagle and the other demonic beasts saw Yi Qinghan was so powerful that the rhinoceros monster could not resist, they could not help but roar in anger. They were all prepared to provide support. Stop them even if you have to risk your life. As long as the rhinoceros monster dies, we will be saved. Xian Yuanyu roared excitedly, his blood boiling. He took the lead, wishing he could immediately kill a god-slaying eagle. The four-talent formation of the 4 great kings allowed them to advance and retreat naturally. In a short period of time, they were not the least bit inferior to 4th-grade demonic beasts. Lu Patian and the others saw the hope of victory. They placed all their hopes on Yi Qinghan, disregarding the danger and suppressing the other 4th-grade demonic beasts. The demonic saber in Yi Qinghan's hand was even more dazzling. Every saber strike would take away a piece of the rhinoceros monster's flesh. The saber moves were like moving clouds and flowing water, incomparably elegant. The rhinoceros monster did not receive any support. It screamed and rolled around. It wanted to avoid Yi Qinghan's attacks and find a chance to counterattack. But Emperor Ye's long hair fluttered in the wind, her 10 fingers madly strumming the divine zither. Blood and flesh flew from her fingertips, but it could not stop her determined heart from suppressing the rhinoceros monster. The pair of master and disciple worked together seamlessly. The rhinoceros monster rolled around in the demonic beast horde, killing countless weak demonic beasts. This gave the bitter sea and grotto heaven experts a chance to catch their breath. Mountain-breaking stance. After the 12 saber moves were used, Yi Qinghan immediately changed moves. As fast as lightning, the saber stabbed into the rhinoceros monster's throat. The demon dragon saber was indestructible, directly entering the saber hilt. The sharp vital energy crushed the life force of the rhinoceros monster. The powerful 4th-grade demonic beast was on the verge of death, causing the people behind to roar. Many people did not know Yi Qinghan's name, but they knew the name of Emperor Yi on his shoulder. They knew the name of the saber in his hand. Emperor Yi. Emperor Yi. Azure Dragon. Azure Dragon. The thousands of people were in unison, their morale like a rainbow, their battle intent soaring to the heavens. There was no longer any despair like before. Rise for me. Yi Qinghan waved his saber, directly sending the rhinoceros monster's body flying. The azure dragon arm exerted strength, forcibly throwing the mountain-like rhinoceros monster into the center of the demonic beast horde. Like a war god, like a mad demon that had appeared. It made everyone's blood boil, as if they were the ones fighting. Boom boom boom. The rhinoceros monster died tragically on the spot, its corpse rolling hundreds of meters away. All the demonic beasts within 100 meters were crushed to death. The humans had finally turned the tables. The hope of victory had suddenly increased. Dawn had reappeared. Outside the city, the parrot had a smug look on its face. It flew backwards, a wretched look on its face as it taunted the wild tiger. "Bald tiger, I can let you have one wing. What can you do to me? Look, I can fly with one wing." In order to stall the wild tiger, the strange parrot really only used one wing to desperately beat the sky. No one knew how it maintained its balance. The wild tiger was so angry that it vomited blood. It roared, its fangs breaking mountains and rivers. It waved its forelimbs and pounced towards the parrot. Chapter 105. Mad Tiger was so angry that he felt dizzy. He waved his forelimbs and smashed them at the parrot. With a roar, he broke an ancient tree. Gravel flew everywhere and covered the sky. Whoosh, the parrot sneered and mocked, "Bald tiger, Grandpa Divine Bird can give you a handicap. Look, you can't hit me. Come and get me." Mad Tiger was mad. He had never felt so helpless before. He was being played by a stupid bird. He was not willing to give up. The parrot rushed into the depths of the forest like a sharp sword. Mad Tiger broke mountains and crushed countless ancient trees. In the blink of an eye, they arrived at the cliff where Yi Qing Han had been hiding. The parrot looked down and found the place. It jumped down and approached the cliff. It began to prepare a plan. Mad Tiger seemed to be so angry that he did not realize that there was a cliff a few hundred meters ahead. After all, there was a row of ancient trees in front of the cliff. "Hee, I'll kill you, Bald Tiger. Your demon core is very valuable. Grandpa Divine Bird might be able to advance to the Life Palace level after swallowing it. Then I'll be invincible in the Owl Fall Star. Those two god-slaying eagles will become bald eagles and burn you bastards." The parrot shouted in its heart. It pretended to be out of breath, trying to give Mad Tiger some confidence so that it could speed up and pounce on it. This stupid bird was too smart and cunning. Ordinary humans could not fool it, let alone a beast with a lower IQ like Mad Tiger. Mad Tiger was fooled. When he saw that the parrot was out of breath, he was overjoyed. After a roar, he burst out with an even faster speed. Perhaps it was because of the parrot's anger, he turned into a bolt of lightning and pounced on the parrot. The parrot slowed down and charged up. Its consciousness locked onto Mad Tiger and calculated the distance. When it was less than 100 meters away, Mad Tiger pounced on the parrot. Its body shot out like a cannonball and rushed to the top of the cliff that was hundreds of meters wide. However, it did not care. Instead, it bared its fangs and bit at the parrot. The parrot suddenly rose dozens of meters high and flew over Mad Tiger's head. It shouted, "Rabbit Tiger, look below." The wild tiger missed and fell towards the cliff. Its huge eyes couldn't help but reveal a trace of panic. It roared and scratched, trying to find the cliff. However, it was currently in a suspended state and couldn't fly. The strength it erupted with could only temporarily keep it suspended in the air for a breath of time. It was completely useless, making it look particularly comical. "Ha ha ha, Rabbit Tiger, how dare you be disrespectful to Grandpa Divine Bird. This is your punishment." The parrot laughed and mocked, "I'll be waiting for you at the bottom of the cliff." After the parrot finished speaking, it swooped down and spat out a mouthful of fire, causing the Mad Tiger to feel pain. Its body fell straight down, its four limbs flailing wildly, but it was unable to stop its descent. Whoosh! A hurried sound of something breaking through the air resounded through the cliff and reverberated in the valleys on both sides. The miserable shriek simply made the heavens and the earth mourn. Mad Tiger's body was huge, and its falling speed was faster than the parrot. It fell 100 meters, but it did not reach the bottom. Mad Tiger roared in anger. A height of 100 meters was enough to paralyze half of its body. If it continued to fall, it might very well fall to its death. The cliff seemed to be far more than 100 meters. The bottom of the cliff was dark and unfathomable. After falling 200 meters, Mad Tiger was in complete despair. There was no way it could survive today. The parrot was not willing to let it go. It kept nagging in its ear. Mad Tiger was mad with anger. If the cliff was any deeper, it would have died before falling to its death. Rabbit Tiger, call me Grandpa Divine Bird. I'll spare your life. The parrot shouted. Mad Tiger weighed a few tons. Even if it begged for mercy, the parrot could not carry it back to the top of the cliff. It was bullying the tiger. Suddenly, a protruding fulcrum appeared below. Mad Tiger crazily moved its body and its forelimbs grabbed the fulcrum. How could the fulcrum withstand such an impact? It immediately broke. However, there was a smaller fulcrum below. Mad Tiger took the opportunity and opened its mouth. Its fangs pierced into the mountain, and it hung in the air, swaying with the wind. It could not reach the sky, nor could it reach the ground. It was battered and exhausted. The cold wind whistled at the bottom of the cliff. The hairless Mad Tiger shivered. It looked down at the bottom of the cliff. It was still dizzy and could not see the bottom. It looked up again. There was not even half a fulcrum. Unless it had wings, it would be useless even if it did not fall to its death. It was waiting to starve to death. The parrot was stunned. It immediately flapped its little wings and prepared to spit fire to burn the tiger's forelimbs so that it would give up on the fulcrum. However, the tiger hated it to the bone and used one of its arms to climb towards the parrot. The parrot dodged and did not dare to approach Mad Tiger. It landed on a small rock not far above. It looked at Mad Tiger with disdain and said, "What's the use of grabbing the fulcrum? Can you climb up? Or can you climb down? It's better to fall down early and suffer less. The sooner you die, the sooner you can reincarnate." Hoo. Mad Tiger had learned. It was like an angry little wife. It turned its head and did not want to look at the parrot. No matter what the parrot said, it would not respond. When the parrot saw that the other party was unwilling to respond to it, it immediately felt bored. It said speechlessly, "Stupid tiger, you hang here slowly. I'm going to Flaming Cloud City. I'll come back in a few days to collect your corpse. After eating your heart core, I'll find a place to bury your bones. You can rest in peace." The parrot spread its wings and flew away without looking back. In Flaming Cloud City, Yi Qinghan transformed into a god of war. His body emitted a faint glow and waves. After killing the rhinoceros monster, he turned around and pounced on Wild Bear. Tens of thousands of people cheered in excitement. The Fate Palace experts were crying tears of joy. Now that they were on par with the Fate Palace experts, at least they had a chance to escape. Emperor Ye's finger was bleeding. His eyes were red from the pain, but he gritted his teeth and did not want to shed a single tear. "Rest. I can still fight this Wild Bear." Yi Qinghan stopped Wild Bear and said to Emperor Yi, who was on his shoulder. The demon blade emitted a dragon aura and was majestic. Its hair danced wildly, intimidating all the beasts in the sky. Its body seemed weak, but it was like a god of war. No one could fight against it. The humans finally stabilized the situation. Behind them, thousands of Grotto Heaven Realm warriors led hundreds of thousands of Bitter Sea Realm warriors to charge towards Flaming Cloud City. Although there were no Fate Palace Realm warriors, they were still a force that could kill countless beasts. The god-slaying eagle whistled and wanted to call Wild Tiger back. However, the parrot appeared in front of everyone leisurely while Wild Tiger was nowhere to be seen. Yi Qinghan looked at the parrot's smug face and knew that Wild Tiger was unlucky. He could not help but breathe a sigh of relief and asked in a low voice, "Where is Wild Tiger?" It was shaken by this divine bird's divine body, and it fell down a 1,000-meter cliff. It's hanging in the air now. I'll deal with it in a few days when it starves to death or when its physical strength is exhausted, the parrot said arrogantly. Yi Qinghan was speechless. Everyone looked at each other, not knowing if they should believe the parrot. Wild bear and other beasts glared at the parrot, wanting to devour its flesh and blood. Yi Qinghan knew that although the parrot was thick-skinned, it would not lie to him. Since Wild Tiger could not participate in the battle and reinforcements were coming, they were not bound to lose this battle. My boys. Follow me and kill. Send them back to the Demon Valley. Xian Yuanyu was so excited that his blood was boiling. Boom! The battle started again and the heroes began to counterattack. The Fate Palace warriors opened up another battlefield and the Flaming Cloud City turned into a sea of fire and hell. Warriors and beasts were dying constantly. Most of the human warriors were devoured and they died and the eerie skeletons turned the place into a hell. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's momentum was unstoppable. He exchanged 3 blows with the black bear in a row, but they were evenly matched. Every blow was as heavy as 1,000,000 pounds, capable of splitting rocks and severing rivers. However, they were unable to break through the black bear's defense. Wild Bear uprooted the ancient trees and threw them at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's hair danced wildly in the wind. His upper body was naked and his golden body was extremely dazzling. The devil dragon's saber in his hand emitted a murderous aura. With a swipe of his saber, the mountain collapsed and the ancient trees turned into dust. Gravel flew everywhere and it was as if the end of the world had arrived. Emperor Ye's hair and clothes fluttered in the wind. He closed his eyes to repair his upper body and sat on Yi Qinghan's shoulder without moving an inch. It was as if they were connected. Her bloody fingers became crystal clear once again. She took a deep breath and summoned the heavenly Guqin. As she plucked the strings, the world was in turmoil. However, she was not crazy this time. Instead, she selectively activated Yi Qinghan's qi and blood. The rich sound of the Guqin reverberated between heaven and earth, making people's blood boil and their fighting spirit soar. Yi Qinghan's qi and blood boiled as he listened to the sound of the Guqin. His saber skills became extremely sharp and as fast as lightning. He was invincible. Even after fighting against 2 4th-grade Fate Palace realm dire beasts, he did not show any signs of weakness. Instead, he became more and more courageous. His saber skills were strange and seemed to contain the supreme power of law. Every step he took was in harmony with the sound of the Guqin and his body movements were in harmony with heaven and earth. Yi Lingyu glanced at Yi Qinghan's back and was shocked. He had never seen this kind of movement and saber skills before, but it felt familiar. Yi Qinghan was neither too fast nor too slow. It seemed that he was on par with Wild Bear, but in fact, he was using the sound of the Guqin to create a new skill. In other words, he was having an epiphany. He deliberately did not defeat Wild Bear and was using it as a stepping stone. The true essence in Yi Qinghan's qi was endless and his mortal body became increasingly powerful. Slashing out saber after saber strike, Yi Qinghan didn't seem to be exhausted at all. But, Wild Bear was being forced back again and again. Every time it blocked Yi Qinghan's attack, it would consume a bit more of its strength. No matter how powerful its mortal body was, it couldn't withstand such consumption. Roar! Wild Bear was exhausted. It roared and took the initiative to attack. It wanted to kill Yi Qinghan as soon as possible. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The sound of the Guqin was vast and mighty. It was as if heaven and earth were responding. Fight! 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 Yi Qinghan's eyes were cold. He was getting more and more familiar with his moves. Every move and style was natural. He could not help but take a deep breath. He felt that it was time to kill Wild Bear and begin his counterattack. Seize the gods. All Daos are under one saber. When the demon saber strikes, the world will surrender. Kill. His angry roar was like a thunderclap that resounded throughout heaven and earth. Whoosh! The saber cut through the void and blood splattered everywhere. It was so dazzling that people could not open their eyes. Chapter 106. Whoosh! The saber slashed across the sky and blood splattered everywhere. It was so dazzling that everyone could not open their eyes. Roar! A dragon-shaped phantom shot out from the devil dragon saber. It roared in the sky and rolled toward the wild bear. The wild bear was terrified. Even if the dragon was just a phantom, its aura was not something a fourth-grade beast like it could contend against. The long dragon pressed down on its head, causing its body to kneel on the ground. Boom! Dust and sand flew into the air. The area within a radius of several hundred feet was filled with smoke, making it difficult for everyone to open their eyes. Yi Qinghan's right arm was like a dragon emerging from its valley. He gripped the devil dragon saber tightly and slashed down fiercely. Slash! The devil dragon saber slashed through the air like a bolt of lightning, illuminating the world. Roar! The wild bear tilted its head and dodged the fatal blow. However, the devil dragon saber struck its shoulder. It roared at the sky and waved its forelimbs wildly toward Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan pulled out his saber and was about to dodge when he realized that the devil dragon saber was stuck. He gave up on the devil dragon saber and clenched his right fist. He swung it toward the wild bear's forelimbs. Boom! Everyone was stunned by the sight of a human clashing head-on with the wild bear. The shockwave caused Emperor Ye's hair to dance wildly and his body to tilt backward. Yi Qinghan's azure dragon arm was torn open by the impact. His entire body was drenched in blood. Zeng! Yi Qinghan's body flew backward, his footsteps crushing the ground. However, the moment he flew backward, he reached out and grabbed the devil dragon saber's handle. The devil dragon saber was pulled out smoothly. The wild bear screamed miserably as the pain pierced through its bones. Yi Qinghan's body moved backward, allowing Emperor Yi to sit upright. It was a close call, but Emperor Yi did not panic at all. She trusted Yi Qinghan even more than she trusted herself. Yi Qinghan slid across the ground, creating a terrifying gully. Huge flames erupted from the friction between the ground and his body, but Emperor Yi was not tainted in the slightest. After retreating dozens of meters, Yi Qinghan stabbed his saber into the ground and stopped his retreat. He twisted his body and advanced instead of retreating. Boomerang blade. Swish swish swish, Yi Qinghan's figure spun in midair as fast as lightning, forming a giant whirlpool. The demon dragon's saber radiated radiance in all directions. The final slash tore through the void and rushed towards the river of stars. The real edge of the saber slashed through the head of the violent bear, causing blood to splatter in all directions. Violent Bear had just stood up when he was stunned on the spot. His eyes were filled with fear and despair. The sky was completely silent. Everyone was looking at Wild Bear and Yi Qinghan. Both man and beast were motionless. They were more than 10 meters away from each other. It was a very strange sight. Violent Bear was dead. His head was cleaved open by Yi Qinghan. His true essence was vast and mighty, instantly crushing the vitality in his body. It didn't even have time to let out a final roar before its body stiffened in place, its head still hanging from its neck. Screech! Unable to sense Violent Bear's aura, the god-slaying eagle roared, wanting to get a response from Violent Bear. However, with a rush of energy, Violent Bear's head fell to the ground. Its body collapsed with a loud bang, causing the demonic beasts and humans to lose their voices. 6 stars of the Bitter Sea Realm. Was he really only 6 stars of the Bitter Sea Realm? Killing 2 Fate Palace Realm beasts in a row. How could this be called the Bitter Sea Realm? Even if he was fighting someone of a higher realm, this was not the way to do it. However, many people had overestimated Yi Qinghan. After all, There was still a difference between a Fate Palace realm human and a rank 4 demonic beast that couldn't fly. Yi Qinghan could kill the rhinoceros monster and violent bear because his strength was too terrifying. Especially the Azure Dragon arm, it was simply a meat grinder for Fate Palace realm demonic beasts. Fate Palace realm beasts that couldn't fly would die if they encountered him. However, once they could fly, they could drag Yi Qinghan to death. Yi Qinghan's right arm was bleeding profusely. The pale golden bones of his arm were clearly visible. He was like a son of God, but he was obviously different from a human. Holding the saber, he slowly retreated. His arm was shining and the wound was quickly healed. Waste blood flew out of his body, in essence blood filled with rich spiritual energy gushed out. It was extraordinarily terrifying. "Parrot, come and protect me." Yi Qinghan looked down on all living beings and didn't trust anyone. This was the best time to counterattack, but he gave up. He would only help if he had the ability. At this moment, the Azure Dragon arm was severely injured. If he continued to fight, even if he defeated the beast tide, he would be in danger. The parrot obediently squatted on Yi Qinghan's shoulder and looked around vigilantly. Emperor Yi was also holding his guqin. Whoever dared to come close would be killed without mercy. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and summoned a large number of mid-grade spiritual crystals. He forcefully absorbed the energy and the spiritual crystals quickly turned into powder. The crowd was stunned. Is he really an ordinary person? Whose sea of qi and body can withstand the power of mid-grade spiritual crystals? Xian Yuanyu's eyes were filled with astonishment. He moved his mouth and stopped talking. The saber in Yi Lingyu's hand kept vibrating as if it was resonating with the devil dragon saber. His eyes were like torches as he stared at Yi Qinghan's back. He was getting more and more suspicious. In this world, other than Yi Qinghan, who could use the saber to such an extent? Lu Ning's breathing was rapid. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that Yi Qinghan was unfamiliar. Her forehead was dripping with sweat and her chest was trembling. The god-slaying eagle was completely shocked. There were originally 9 fourth-grade ferocious beasts, but now 3 of them were gone in the blink of an eye. And they were all defeated by Yi Qinghan and his spiritual pets. Screech the eagle screeched and its wings covered the sky. It wanted to kill Yi Qinghan, but it was stopped by Xian Yuanyu and Lu Patian. A great battle was about to break out. Tens of thousands of ferocious beasts roared. It was not easy to break through the defense of the Devil Valley. How could they give up just because of Yi Qinghan? The god-slaying eagle was alert. Xian Yuanyu and the others also wanted to stall for time until Yi Qinghan recovered and killed another Fate Palace realm ferocious beast. That would be perfect. The parrot was much more well-behaved. It was lucky that it managed to trick a Fate Palace realm beast. It might not be able to knock the next beast off the cliff with just a shake of its body. If the next beast was a god-slaying eagle, 10 of the parrot would be killed. Yi Qinghan's body shone brightly. His bronze skin looked perfect under the sunlight. He had absorbed at least 20 middle-grade spiritual stones in a row. Such spiritual energy was enough to make someone at the peak of the Grotto Heaven realm explode. However, for Yi Qinghan, it was only enough for him to recover to the peak. He opened his eyes slightly. It was like a dragon opening its eyes, intimidating all creatures and frightening all ferocious beasts. Even the Fate Palace realm ferocious beasts were scared out of their wits and were unwilling to fight head-on. Screech. He took out a black windbreaker from his interspatial ring and put it on. The windbreaker fluttered in the wind, revealing his slender legs. He looked extremely handsome. The devil dragon saber was even more ferocious. He flipped the saber and the cold light was dazzling. Screech the god-slaying eagles were unwilling to give up. They stopped hesitating and roared in unison. Tens of thousands of ferocious beasts responded and wanted to attack again. Yi Qinghan smirked. A murderous intent swept across the heads of the ferocious beasts. They were so frightened that they retreated and kept growling. Since you want to fight again, let's end this. Either you attack the Owlfall Star or you'll all be slaughtered. Yi Qinghan snorted coldly and turned into a sharp blade that pierced into the hearts of the ferocious beasts. Hee, it's a pity to kill them. I think these two eagles are not bad. Let's capture and tame them. In the future, we won't have to waste so much energy flying around, the parrot said arrogantly. The parrot's way of thinking was strange. Other people tamed ferocious beasts to help them in battle, but the parrot wanted to save some energy for itself. The god-slaying eagles were much smarter than other ferocious beasts. They had extremely high intelligence. When they heard the parrot's clamor, they tore the void with their sharp claws and roared at the parrot. They did not care whether the parrot's bloodline was high or not and directly pounced on Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan raised his blade and his aura exploded. His clothes fluttered and affected the surrounding laws. The wind whistled and he pointed his long blade at the god-slaying eagle. The god-slaying eagle's figure stopped abruptly. It was dozens of meters away from Yi Qinghan, but Xianyuanyu did not stop it. He hoped that Yi Qinghan could kill one of the god-slaying eagles. Then, the humans would definitely win today. Unfortunately, Yi Qinghan could not win. He could only take advantage of the situation and use the aura of a great martial venerable to suppress the god-slaying eagle. The aura suppressed the heavens and the earth. Not only the god-slaying eagle, even Xianyuanyu found it difficult to breathe. All creatures were in awe and did not dare to look directly at him for fear of blaspheming the god in front of them. Retreat. Or die. The low voice was like thunder. The explosion made everyone tremble and goosebumps rise. Arrogant. Too arrogant. No one below the realm of Tao Master dared to use such a tone to speak to the god-slaying eagle. Xianyuanyu also did not dare to say that he could kill the god-slaying eagle alone. But Yi Qinghan, with the 6 stars of the bitter sea, dared to say so, and the god-slaying eagle did not fly into a rage. The god-slaying eagle's pupils shrank, as if it was being stared at by a Tao master. It had never seen anyone who could release such an aura. It was not that it was timid, but Yi Qinghan's aura was too terrifying. The stalwart body was rising. Although it was still so tall, it looked as if Yi Qinghan was indomitable. Xianyuanyu was overjoyed and could not help but shout, "Fellow Yi, please kill this evil beast. We will counterattack." Yi Qinghan was speechless. He could not fly and was not a real Tao Insight Realm cultivator. How could he be compared with the god-slaying eagle? It was already good enough to suppress it in terms of aura, but he still wanted to counterattack. Everything has spirituality. The more you kill, the more inner demons you have. It's not good for your realm. Let's stop and guard our own continent. Don't invade each other. Yi Qinghan pretended to be compassionate, but in fact, he really had no choice. Once it was exposed that he could not fight against flying experts, who knew if these Fate Palace cultivators would become his enemies? Even those Tao Insight Realm cultivators would wait for an opportunity to kill him and snatch his cultivation method. The parrot curled its lips and secretly said, "Pretentious. If you can kill, you are more arrogant than me." And arrogant. Yi Qinghan coldly glanced at the parrot. Only then did the parrot remember that its thoughts were not a secret to Yi Qinghan, so it hurriedly shrank its head and smiled embarrassedly. Xianyuanyu and the others were unwilling. This was a great opportunity to counterattack. How could they give up so easily? Fellow Yi. In this battle, many heroes have died tragically in the mouths of the ferocious beasts. Hundreds of thousands of mortals, hundreds of thousands of Bitter Sea Realm cultivators, tens of thousands of Tao Insight Realm cultivators, and 7 Fate Palace cultivators have all died in their mouths. Why should we give up this opportunity? What status do you have to represent the hundreds of millions of creatures of the Owlfall continent to negotiate peace with the Demon Valley continent? How will you face those heroes who have died? Tang Xing angrily scolded. Yi Qinghan frowned and sneered, since you are not willing to negotiate peace, then let's fight. I will not intervene in the battle between Fate Palace cultivators. Yi Qinghan's words stunned Xianyuan Yu and the others. Even Lu Patian was somewhat dissatisfied. Fellow Yi, you are after all a human race cultivator of the Owlfall continent. Do you want to watch countless heroes die tragically? Where is your king's style? Where is the heart of an expert? Do you still deserve to be called a human race cultivator? Tang Xing questioned with a cold face. Chapter 107. Fellow Taoist Yi, you're a human powerhouse on Owlfall planet after all. Are you going to watch countless heroes die tragically? Where is your kingly demeanor? Where is the heart of a powerhouse? Do you still deserve to be called a human powerhouse? Tang Xing questioned. Tang Xing's question represented all the Fate Palace powerhouses on Owlfalling planet. Since ancient times, humans had been at odds with the monsters in Devil Valley. They would kill on sight and never negotiate peace. Yi Qinghan had the ability to help humans win, but he was unwilling to do so. He had offended many people in an instant. Yi Qinghan looked coldly at the crowd before him. Some people were just too greedy. He had helped Xiao Yunxing because he didn't want to see the common people suffer and die tragically. However, this was on the premise that he didn't put himself in danger. Now that he was about to expose his bottom line, giving up was the best choice. However, they were still pushing their luck. They were shameless. I don't need you to judge whether I have the heart of a powerhouse or the kingly demeanor. I only do what I want to do. If you think you can fight back, then kill these Fate Palace powerhouses. As for the normal monsters, leave them to me. Yi Qinghan was disdainful. Some people were always greedy. After getting some, they would want more. They were shameless. At this moment, the god-slaying eagle no longer dared to move recklessly. Yi Qinghan was not willing to make a move now. If it forced Yi Qinghan to make a move, then it would be too foolish. It would be seeking its own death by forcing Yi Qinghan to lead the human race to counterattack the Demon Valley. Are you scared? Can't defeat the god-slaying eagle? Or maybe you can't fly and don't want to expose your bottom line. Tang Xing's eyes shone brightly as he revealed his guess. He did not give Yi Qinghan any face and was not afraid of the god-slaying eagle finding out. It was as if he was reminding the god-slaying eagle that Yi Qinghan was just a mortal who looked good but was useless. He was not a god. He wanted both of them to suffer losses. Yi Qinghan's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He was so angry that he laughed and said in a low voice, "If that's what you think, you can try and see if I can kill you." Originally, they were still in the same camp, but now, they were at loggerheads with killing intent everywhere. Xianyuan Yu was shocked and somewhat dissatisfied with Tang Xing's attitude. Even if his guess was correct, he couldn't say it in front of countless ominous beasts. Not to mention, there were countless experts of Owl-Falling Star here. Wouldn't such a statement be pushing Yi Qinghan to a dead end? Brother Tang, you've gone too far. In any case, fellow Taoist Yi is our savior. He helped us out of goodwill, but it's also his freedom to not help us. Aren't you being a vile person who bites the hand that feeds him? Lu Patian saw the cold light in Yi Qinghan's eyes and immediately warned him. Maybe Yi Qinghan had some relationship with Lu Outyan and wanted to fight for it. I'm going overboard. Wasn't it too much to betray others? The ground was filled with corpses. He wants to negotiate peace. What is his intention? Tang Xing spoke righteously as if he was the savior of the world. His words were fierce, but he was speaking for the dead. Immediately, a group of people resonated with him. The parrot was speechless. It looked at Yi Qinghan and said, "Master, how can there be such a shameless weirdo in this world? This face, TSK TSK TSK, I'm ashamed of my inferiority. This face can be used as a great defensive formation, absolutely unbreakable. Tang Xing's old face changed and coldly glanced at the parrot. What are you looking at? So what if you can fly? This divine bird is not afraid of you. However, this divine bird once said something, do you want to know? The parrot said disdainfully. This king has no interest in talking to a beast like you. This old man will represent the common people and the dead to ask you, are you willing to prepare for war or kneel down and beg for peace with the demonic beasts? Tang Xing coldly looked at Yi Qinghan, his face full of disdain towards the parrot. Fuck your ancestors. When I helped you kill Wild Tiger, you cheered. In the blink of an eye, you turned against me and burned the bridge after crossing the river. You're even more shameless than me. This old man once said that people who are more shameless than me will die. You will too. Believe me, because I'm already angry. The parrot was extremely angry. It was not like Yi Qinghan who could endure. The atmosphere in Flaming Cloud City was strange. Originally, there were 2 sides, but now there were 3 sides. Yi Qinghan's eyes were cold and emotionless. He looked at some people who were sparing no effort to criticize him as if they were the saviors and he was the bad guy who betrayed humanity. He could not help but grin coldly. Tang Xing. You're too much. Without them, we would have died long ago. Even if you don't thank us, you don't have to attack us with such filthy words. Lu Patian coldly scolded. Xianyuan Yu and the others had ugly expressions. If they were to fall out with Yi Qinghan at this time, it would definitely be a loss for the human race. If they angered Yi Qinghan, he might just leave, and the outcome of today's battle would be unknown. Daoist Tang Xing, please apologize to Daoist Yi Qinghan and the Divine Bird. For the future of Owl Falling Star, please apologize sincerely. Otherwise, Owl Falling Star will be destroyed because of you. Xianyuan Yu did not want to offend Yi Qinghan, so he could only offend Tang Xing. Tang Xing stood on the moral high ground and used humanity's righteousness to criticize Yi Qinghan. However, he did not expect to be countered by Xianyuan Yu. If he did not apologize, the responsibility of Owl Falling Star's defeat would be all on Tang Xing. Seeing Tang Xing criticizing Yi Qinghan, the god-slaying eagle calmed down and retreated with the 10,000 beasts. It was ready to let both sides suffer. At least, it had to break their alliance. Yi Qinghan saw Tang Xing showing his bottom line in front of him and couldn't help but smile coldly. His aura rose and he looked down at Tang Xing with disdain. He sneered, Tang Xing, don't use humanity's righteousness to pressure me. If it wasn't for the innocent people of Owl Falling Star, do you think I would have done it? What does the death of a shameless person like you have to do with me? 1 second, you received our kindness. The next moment, you humiliated us. You're a bitch and you still want to pretend to be chaste. What right do you have to pressure me with righteousness? Do you think I care about their accusations? When I helped Owl Falling Star, I didn't think about repaying them. However, when you repay kindness with enmity, don't blame me for being ruthless. The demon blade shone coldly. Yi Qinghan was on the verge of exploding in anger. If it wasn't for the god-slaying eagle and the other demonic beasts nearby, he would have killed Tang Xing today. The divine power of a Tao master was vast and mighty. His eyes were intimidating. His clothes were fluttering and his long hair was flying. His clear eyes saw through the evilness of human nature. Yi Qinghan suppressed his emotions. He was neither sad nor happy. Tang Xing's breathing stagnated. He was intimidated by Yi Qinghan and did not dare to push him too far. He was afraid that Yi Qinghan would directly side with the demonic beasts and take the opportunity to kill him. If that happened, there would be no one to help him. I agree with fellow Taoist Ye's idea of peace. Now we're evenly matched. Even if we counterattack, both of us will suffer. It will only increase the number of casualties. Yi Lingyu's cold blade was shiny and threatening. Although he was only in the Grotto Heaven realm, he was not inferior to the Fate Palace realm. Looking at Yi Qinghan's profile, he thought for a moment and decided to speak up for Yi Qinghan. Then he continued, "Fellow Taoist Tang Sheng, you don't distinguish between right and wrong. You just casually accused this parrot that helped us and insulted fellow Taoist. I really don't understand your intentions. Do you want to test his bottom line and true strength? If fellow Taoist Yi wins, you can take most of the credit. If he loses, you'll take the opportunity to fight for the secret skill." Yi Lingyu's aura exploded. His words were sharp and went straight to Tang Xing's heart. Tang Xing's body trembled and his face turned ugly. He shouted angrily, "Ignorant junior, I'm speaking up for the dead fellow Taoist. I'm speaking up for the souls of Owl Falling Star. You're not from Owl Falling Star. Of course you don't care about their lives, what a joke. You're fighting for Owl Falling Star. Aren't fellow Taoist Yi and I the same? If we don't care about the lives of so many people, do you really think you can stop us if we leave? Do you dare to stop us? This is the first time I've seen such a shameless person who bites the hand that feeds him." Lu Ning also stood up and scolded coldly. Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu were powerful. Not only were they kings, but they also had a fifth-rank family behind them. Even if Tang Xing's strength was extraordinary, he wouldn't dare to do anything to them. At this moment, he was criticized until his face turned red, but he couldn't refute. Although Lu Ning and the others weren't from Owl Falling Star, they were fighting for Owl Falling Star. They were standing on the moral high ground. In addition, the forces behind them were powerful. Everyone could only be grateful, but they didn't dare to criticize them. However, Yi Qinghan was different. He was from Owl Falling Star. It was natural for him to fight for Owl Falling Star. No matter how much Yi Qinghan sacrificed, they wouldn't take it to heart. This was the human heart. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and glanced at the crowd. He knew that today's matter didn't leave a favor behind. Instead, he offended some people. The corner of his mouth twitched. He looked at the god-slaying eagle and a bright light flashed in his eyes. A plan emerged in his mind. Since he offended Tang Xing, he had to show his goodwill to Lu Patian. If he could get Xianyuan Yu, he would. If not, it didn't matter. "Everyone, I agree with the counterattack. However, since Tang Xing is so confident and wants to avenge our dead friends, it seems like he has the confidence to win. How about we ask him to deal with the god-slaying eagle?" Yi Qinghan asked indifferently. Everyone looked at Tang Xing. His face turned purple. The god-slaying eagle's strength wasn't something an ordinary person could deal with. Unless the Qinglong Taoist was reborn, who would dare to say that they could kill the god-slaying eagle in the Fate Palace realm? However, rejecting Yi Qinghan's suggestion at this time was like slapping his own face. "What? Brother Tang Xing, you just said that you were generous and wanted to avenge the dead. Now you don't say anything. Are you hoping that we will go to our deaths and you will take advantage of us?" Yi Qinghan's simple words were full of sarcasm. Tang Xing was burning with anger. He looked at the countless experts of Owl Falling Star who were looking at him with anticipation. He didn't know what to say. "Tang Xing, you just said that we don't care about our dead friends and that we don't care about Owl Falling Star. Now it's your turn. Say something in front of everyone," Lu Ning asked. Yi Qinghan's move was absolutely vicious. He wanted to use someone else to do his dirty work. As long as Tang Xing dared to agree, even if the god-slaying eagle couldn't kill him, he would kill him in secret. "Humph, it seems like you don't want to counterattack. I can't do anything alone. Even if I agree now, I will fail. Fine, I will let go of this great opportunity and rest first." Tang Xing pretended to be arrogant and said coldly. "Shameless. Pooh." The parrot sneered unceremoniously. Tang Xing stared at the parrot and Yi Qinghan. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes, but it was quickly concealed. Tang Xing had the intent to kill, but Yi Qinghan's intent to kill was even stronger. However, he didn't show it. The tense atmosphere changed to one of intrigue. The god-slaying eagle saw that it did not have much of a chance and was unwilling to fight Yi Qinghan to the death, so it could only retreat with the 10,000 beasts. Yi Qinghan swept a glance at everyone and immediately stepped out of the dilapidated fire cloud city. A few figures flashed and disappeared. 1 hour later, they blocked off the god-slaying eagle's countless beast horde 500 miles southwest of Fire Cloud City. The two of them, one with a saber and one with a guqin, stood proudly in the cold wind. The aura of Tao Venerables filled the air. They stared at the powerful beasts and refused to retreat. Chapter 108. The two of them stood proudly in the cold wind with a saber and a guqin. They stared at the powerful beasts and refused to take a step back. Screech the god-slaying eagles screeched and glared at Yi Qinghan. They had already retreated, but he was still chasing them. Was he forcing them to fight with their lives? God-slaying eagles, I know you can understand what I'm saying. Ask them to retreat to the demonic valley first. I'll make a deal with the two of you alone. I promise you'll be satisfied. Let's see if you dare. Yi Qinghan held the devil's dragon saber tightly. He looked casual, but there were no flaws. As soon as the beasts attacked, he would use the ultimate dragon steps to escape. The god-slaying eagles growled and looked at Yi Qinghan in confusion. They did not know what he was going to do. The silver python that was hundreds of feet long moved its body and raised its head, ready to attack. The winged panther arched its back, ready to unleash its terrifying power at any time. The other two fourth-grade Fate Palace ferocious beasts glared at Yi Qinghan, eager to devour his flesh. The god-slaying eagles were cautious. If Yi Qinghan wanted to fight, he would have joined forces with the other Fate Palace warriors to kill them. Now that he was facing them alone, he must have other plans. Screech! Screech! The two god-slaying eagles screeched at the same time, ordering the other beasts to leave and face Yi Qinghan alone. The other Fate Palace beasts stared at Yi Qinghan, Emperor Yi, and the parrot. The blood of the two humans and the beast was fatally attractive to them. However, they were intimidated by Yi Qinghan's aura and the god-slaying eagle's orders. They turned and left reluctantly. After a long time, only the two god-slaying eagles, Yi Qinghan, his disciple, and the parrot were left within a 1,000-meter radius. Yi Qinghan stared at the descending god-slaying eagles in the cold wind and said in a deep voice, "Let's make a deal. Be my spiritual pet for 3 years and I'll give you the method to evolve your 5th-grade bloodline. After 3 years, I will voluntarily give up the spiritual pet contract." Humans trading with the god-slaying eagle was no different from asking a tiger for its skin. But now, they had no choice but to do so. Not being able to fly was Yi Qinghan's most fatal weakness. Even a Grotto Heaven Realm human would find it difficult to contend with him. Once the other party discovered him, 2 or 3 Grotto Heaven Realm experts would be able to drag him to death. Screech the god-slaying eagles were taken aback, and a bright light shot out from their eyes. It was obvious that they were interested, but they were not willing to be spirit pets, and they did not trust humans. The eagles said they don't believe you. They said they can trade in another way, but they don't agree to be your pet, the parrot explained while shrugging its head. Yi Qinghan smirked and said disdainfully, "I'm not interested in other things. If you want to trade, then trade. If you don't want to trade, then forget it." The god-slaying eagle was stunned. It did not expect Yi Qinghan to be so ruthless. It was at a loss for what to do. There was a fundamental difference between a 5th-grade spirit beast and a 4th-grade ferocious beast. Firstly, there was a fundamental difference in intelligence. 5th-grade spirit beasts could take human form, speak human language, and cultivate secret techniques. Evolving a high-level bloodline was fatally attractive to the god-slaying eagle. Yi Qinghan naturally understood, so he was not willing to let the god-slaying eagle go overboard. He said again, "This spirit-engulfing godly parrot has an ancient bloodline. It's already a 5th-grade spirit beast, and it's willing to be my pet. As for the rest of you, if I wasn't guarding against Fate Palace realm humans, I wouldn't bother to take you as my pet. If you don't trust me, then leave." Yi Qinghan turned and left after he finished speaking, not giving the god-slaying eagle a chance to speak. The god-slaying eagle's interest was piqued. How could it let Yi Qinghan leave just like that? It immediately flapped its wings and ran in front of Yi Qinghan, calling out incessantly. As an experienced spirit beast, the parrot obviously understood what it was saying. It murmured and then explained, "They said. If you have something to say, say it slowly. Since it's a trade, we can express our sincerity. Maybe we can talk about it." Yi Qinghan suddenly smiled. How could such a creature's psychology hide from an old fox like him? No matter what, he was still a peerless genius in his previous life, the supreme warlord of the Xiaolong region. "I'll only say it once. If you agree, then agree. If you don't, then forget it," Yi Qinghan said calmly, as if he did not care about the two powerful spirit beasts at all. He glanced at the god-slaying eagle and said seriously, "If you form a contract with me and my disciple, you can borrow our high-level bloodline to nurture your own. I'll grant you the shape-shifting skill. As long as you have the materials, I can even refine the shape-shifting elixir for you. As long as you can take human form and open up your knowledge sea, you can cultivate secret techniques and develop toward a truly high-level creature. After 3 years, I'll automatically release you from the contract and let you leave." The more Yi Qinghan spoke, the more excited the god-slaying eagle became. Shape-shifting skill, shape-shifting elixir, these were not things that anyone could have or know. As for whether you can trust me or not, I don't think you need to trust me. If I can't do what I'm saying now, you can just kill your master and perish together with us. Now, it depends on whether you dare to gamble. If you don't dare to gamble with your life in order to reach the peak, I advise you to stop cultivating. Be a ruler with peace of mind and wait for your time to come. Attacking the human territory will also bring you calamity," Yi Qinghan said coldly. The god-slaying eagle's eyes were sharp, and divine light rippled as they communicated with each other. They were a couple, and it was obvious that they trusted each other very much. Yi Qinghan was not in a hurry. He had grasped the weakness of these demonic beasts. He could do whatever he wanted without any pressure. In the Huiyan city, a large number of experts began to clean up the battlefield. Many of the corpses of the demonic beasts had become treasures. Even the Life Palace experts began to fight for them. However, most of them had their eyes on the savage bear and the rhinoceros. Their fur was enough to refine a grade 4 armor, or even a low-grade grade 5 armor. Grade 4 spiritual weapons and even grade 5 combat weapons could not break through it. If it were not for Yi Qinghan's Devil Dragon Saber, Berserk, and Azure Dragon Arm, even he would not have been able to break through the defense of the savage bear and the rhinoceros. How do we split the savage bear and the rhinoceros? Xian Yuanyu's eyes flashed with greed as he asked. Of course, we'll split it equally. We'll split it into 5, and each of us will take 1. Tang Sheng looked at the savage bear's head greedily. Not only did he have his eyes on the savage bear and the rhinoceros skin, but he also had his eyes on the savage bear's demon core and the rhinoceros horn. A grade 4 demon core contained a lot of power, and the rhinoceros horn was the material for a grade 5 combat weapon. The Life Palace experts naturally had no objections to Tang Sheng's distribution, but Lu Patian was not willing. Now that Yi Qinghan was not here, he had to get a share for him as a sign of goodwill. Wait, Brother Yi killed the savage bear and the rhinoceros. He should be the one to decide how to distribute them, not us, right? Lu Patian said in a deep voice. Humph, a rookie at the Bitter Sea realm who only relied on brute force. How can we let him squander such treasures? It's a great loss to the human race. Tang Sheng said unhappily. Dongfang Yu and the others quickly nodded. They supported Tang Sheng and did not want to let go of the savage bear and the rhinoceros corpses. Xianyuan Yu was in a difficult position. He still had some conscience. Yi Qinghan had just killed so many people, but now he did not get a share of the treasures. When he came back, wouldn't there be a fight? Why don't we give him some? The rhinoceros horn and demon core are not his, but we leave some skin for him. How about that? Xianyuan Yu asked tentatively. Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning looked at each other and could not help but sneer. These people were too shameless. Even if they did not give Yi Qinghan a share, there should be a share for the two kings. Brother Lu Ning and I want the rhinoceros horn. We also want a share of the rhinoceros and savage bear's skin. If you don't want to give it to us based on your strength, then go ahead and try. Yi Lingyu shouted. What a joke. Two juniors are so arrogant. Do you think there's no one in the Owl Falling Star? Tang Sheng was furious. The rhinoceros horn was the most precious thing, how could he give it to them? Humph, if we didn't stop you, you would have been devoured by the god-slaying eagle. Would you still be alive to split the treasures? Lu Ning asked disdainfully. Tang Sheng was burning with anger. He did not want to take the risk to fight the god-slaying eagle, but he wanted to snatch the treasures with all his might. Brother Yi and Brother Lu are indebted to the Owl Falling Star, so there's nothing wrong with splitting the treasures. However, the rhinoceros horn is a material for a 5th-grade combat weapon. It's not appropriate for you two juniors to take it. You can have an extra share of the fur, but you must leave the rhinoceros horn behind. What do you think? Xianyuan Yu was an old fox. He still wanted to curry favor with the Lu family. Obviously, he did not want to offend Lu Ning and the people behind Yi Lingyu. What if we insist on the rhinoceros horn? Lu Ning asked coldly. Impossible. Don't even think about touching the rhinoceros horn. The demon core is also out of the question. It's already good enough that you can use the fur to make some soft armor. Don't say that we're bullying you. Dongfang Yu stood out and said coldly. That's right. Don't even think about touching the rhinoceros horn or the demon core. This belongs to my brother. He killed 2 4th-grade Fate Palace beasts, so the credit belongs to him. We'll split it according to his contribution. Don't even think about touching it. Lu Outyan said in a muffled voice. Ignorant junior, you don't have the right to speak. If it weren't for Brother Patian, I would have killed you with my sword. Tang Sheng scolded disdainfully. Lu Outyan's face turned ugly. He clenched his fists and took a deep breath. He had to swallow his anger. Revenge was a dish best served cold. Once he cultivated the great reincarnation sword art, killing a Fate Palace cultivator would be a piece of cake. You can try. If you use your sword with your left hand, I'll cut your left hand. If you use your right hand, I'll cut your right hand. If you touch even a strand of hair on my brother's head, I'll cut off your head. A thunderclap exploded. The warriors who were dividing the treasures stopped and looked into the distance. Who else could it be but Yi Qinghan? Yi Qinghan pulled Emperor Yi with his left hand and held the devil's dragon saber with his right hand. He rode the parrot on his shoulder and walked with the wind. His long hair fluttered behind him. His aura was overwhelming. How arrogant. Since you don't care about the fur, don't even think about taking it away. Don't even touch a strand of hair on the rhinoceros and the bear. Those are my trophies. If you dare touch them, I'll cut off your heads. The hoarse voice contained a supreme will. It was terrifying. It was like a divine saber hanging in the sky, ready to fall and destroy the stars. The arrogant voice filled the flaming cloud city. He didn't take the Fate Palace cultivators seriously. The terrifying aura suppressed the warriors so much that they didn't dare to move. They didn't even dare to take the fur and demon cores of the low-level beasts for fear of angering Yi Qinghan. Chapter 109. The flaming cloud city was dead silent. Everyone stood still and looked at Yi Qinghan. They clenched their swords and sabers, but no one dared to fight for the corpses of the beasts, even though a third-grade beast was worth more than 10 mid-grade spiritual crystals. Gulp, everyone swallowed their saliva and waited for the battle between the Fate Palaces to end. Tang Sheng was greedy and wanted to fight for the rhinoceros horn and the beast core. However, Yi Qinghan was even more ruthless. He would not give them a single strand of hair from the two fourth-grade beasts. Yi Qinghan brought Emperor Yi to the flaming cloud city. He held his saber horizontally and stood in front of the rhinoceros and the bear. His eyes were filled with determination. "Brother Yi, you're too arrogant. Killing fourth-grade beasts is not something you can do alone. Without us stopping the other fourth-grade beasts, do you think you have a chance to kill the rhinoceros and the bear? If you want to take the treasures for yourself, you have to ask for our permission." Tang Sheng's aura exploded as he confronted Yi Qinghan. Dongfang Yu and Situ Feng immediately stood by Tang Sheng's side. Their attitude was clear. Lu Patian stood on Yi Qinghan's side without hesitation. Whether or not they could form a relationship with Yi Qinghan would depend on today's battle. Xianyuan Yu was in a difficult position. If he were to pick a side now, it would be difficult for either of them to gain an advantage if a fight broke out. What was more important was Yi Qinghan's strength. If he had a hidden trump card, such as a life palace that could allow him to fly or kill humans, wouldn't he be courting death if he stood on the other side? "Everyone, please calm down. We shouldn't be fighting among ourselves right after the calamity. As the saying goes, the treasures belong to those who are fated. How about we share them equally? Brother Yi contributed the most and I support him to take the bigger share." Xianyuan Yu was a sly old fox. He did not want to offend Yi Qinghan, but he also wanted to get some benefits, so he chose to be neutral. "No, I already said that I killed the rhinoceros and the bear. Don't even think about taking them. Otherwise, you'll have to ask for my saber's permission," Yi Qinghan said coldly. "Arrogant. Today, I'll fight you and see how strong you are." Tang Sheng sneered. The spiritual sword in his hand exploded and sword chi shot out in all directions. Dongfang Yu and Situ Feng followed closely behind. Their auras erupted, and astral winds howled. "Ha ha ha, good. If you want to take the treasures, you'll have to see if you have the ability to do so. Defeat me and these treasures will all be yours. If you lose, prepare to die." Yi Qinghan laughed maniacally. The dragon chi of the demon dragon saber surged. With a flip of the saber, even though it was a demonic saber, it had a berserk aura. Grown, Lu Patian gritted his teeth and decided to attack. His sword pierced through the clouds as he pointed at Tang Sheng's group and said in a low voice, "Brother Tang, if you dare to attack, don't blame me for attacking as well. Let's talk on the sword of life and death. 3 against 2. Brother Lu, think carefully before you pick a side. You still have Lu Lan behind you." Dongfang Yu threatened coldly. "Then don't forget that you still have the state government of Qing and the Dongfang and Situ families behind you," Lu Patian said coldly. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed with murderous intent as he looked at Xianyuan Yu coldly. Now, it was time to see what Xianyuan Yu's attitude was. If he was going to kill them, he would kill them all. Xianyuan Yu smiled bitterly. At this moment, neither side would allow him to stand in the middle. However, which side to choose was a big problem. Tang Sheng had 3 people and Yi Qinghan had 2. If he chose Tang Sheng, it would be 2 against 1. It would be easy for him to win. However, deep down, Xianyuan Yu was inexplicably afraid of Yi Qinghan. He did not want to be his enemy. "Everyone, we're all from the same clan. We're weak to begin with. As Fate Palace powerhouses, you should think for the common people. Why do you have to kill each other for treasures? Xian Yuanyu said helplessly. It's not that I want to fight, it's just that he's too arrogant. I admit that he was able to kill the rhinoceros monster, Wild Bear. However, without us, could he have killed it? Now, he wants to take all the credit for himself and is so arrogant. I can't accept this. Tang Sheng shouted angrily as if he had been wronged. Swish, so what? If you don't like it, you can come and take it. Yi Qinghan did not care. He waved his hand and put the rhinoceros horn into his interspatial ring. Then, he swung his sword and took out the demon core in Wild Bear's head. He then took out the demon core of Wild Bear and the rhinoceros monster. He was as fast as lightning and did not give anyone a chance to react. Tang Xing's face turned pale as if he had swallowed a fly. Now that the best treasures had been taken away by Yi Qinghan, there had to be blood if he wanted to take them back. Yi Qinghan did not bother to look at Tang Sheng and the rest. He kicked away the dismembered body of Wild Bear and threw it into the crowd. Since the Fate Palace powerhouses don't care about the meat, you can have it. The flesh of a grade 4 monster was rich in blood and was the best for replenishing energy and blood. How could the Fate Palace powerhouses not care about it? It was just that they cared more about the rhinoceros horn, demon core, and fur. Looking at the bloody flesh of Wild Bear and rhinoceros monster, the Fate Palace powerhouses no longer cared about the Fate Palace powerhouses' murderous stares. Since Yi Qinghan had given them away, they would be idiots if they did not take it. In an instant, at least 100 Fate Palace powerhouses pounced on the grade 4 monster's flesh. They tore off as many pieces as they could and put them all into their interspatial rings. Go away. This thigh is all mine. A powerful Fate Palace powerhouse who was in the fourth step of the Fate Palace powerhouse pushed away a weaker Fate Palace powerhouse next to him and hacked at the Wild Bear's hind legs. Since the weaker ones could not compete, they could only go for the less important parts. Even the most ordinary parts were much better than the flesh of a grade 3 monster. Hundreds of people fought over the bodies. In less than half an hour, the bodies of Wild Bear and rhinoceros monster were completely divided. Even the bones were taken away. Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning smiled bitterly. Yi Qinghan was too arrogant. If you don't want to share the fur, rhinoceros horn, and demon core, you should at least leave the flesh and bones to us. Now, not even a single strand of hair was left. Lu Patian and Xian Yuanyu thought that Yi Qinghan was too arrogant. He did not care about the Fate Palace powerhouses at all. Yi Qinghan looked at Tang Sheng with contempt as if he was saying, "What can you do to me?" The parrot was even more smug. It didn't mind watching the show and couldn't wait for Yi Qinghan to trample everyone under his feet. Tisk, tsk. If someone's face was used as a defensive array, even a Tao Master level spiritual beast would not be able to break it. Oh my! His face turned red and purple. He even got angry. The parrot looked at Tang Sheng. Its words were enough to make people angry. Are they forcing me to make a move? He looks like he has no scruples. Can he really kill us? Tang Sheng had a strange look on his face as he stared at Yi Qinghan. Whoever made the first move would not stand on the moral high ground as they would be condemned by the world. Even those at the Life Palace level would be despised. Dongfang Yu and Situ Feng were also very cautious. Xian Yuanyu was not on their side. If they really fought, both sides would suffer. If they made the first move, they would have a hard time in the future. Yi Qinghan did not make the first move because he knew that he would have to stay on the Owlfall planet for a while. He did not want to be surrounded by enemies. If he used the God-slaying eagle now, some people would spread rumors that he was the one who ordered the God-slaying eagle to lead thousands of beasts to attack the human territory. By then, he would not be able to defend himself. Both sides had their scruples. It was difficult for them to fight under such circumstances. Tang Xing did not get anything. He could not help but groan. This person's appearance is strange. I've never heard of him before. I have to find out where he came from. Then, I'll gather the powerhouses from the big families who are nearing the end of their lives to suppress him. I'll let him go for now. Thinking of this, Tang Xing left. Dongfang Yu and the others followed closely behind. Once the Fate Palace cultivator left, the fight for the beasts' bodies became even fiercer. Some people even drew their swords. It was very likely that a fight would break out. Ling Chen, Lu Outyen, and the others joined in the fight. These were rare treasures. Normally, no one would dare to go to the Demon Valley to kill beasts unless they had a death wish. Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu did not move. They kept staring at Yi Qinghan. The doubts and suspicions in their hearts grew. Yi Qinghan smirked. He whispered, "Are the two of you curious about my identity? If you're not afraid, then follow me out of the city." Yi Qinghan turned around and left Flaming Cloud City with Emperor Yi. Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu frowned. They spread their wings and followed closely behind. They were getting further and further away from Flaming Cloud City. The four of them gradually disappeared under the distant sky. Lu Patian and Xian Yuanyu looked at each other and could not help but smile bitterly. "Brother Lu, you stood on Brother Ye's side so strongly. Tell me the truth. Did you know him before? Where did he come from?" Xian Yuanyu asked Lu Patian. Lu Patian was helpless. He chose Yi Qinghan based on his intuition. Moreover, he had a layer of relationship with Lu Outyen. When Xian Yuanyu asked, he could only shake his head. Then, Xian Yuanyu and Lu Patian looked at Lu Outyen. Their sharp eyes made him tremble. "Outyen, who is that brother Yi? How did you know him?" Lu Patian asked seriously. Lu Outyen's expression changed. Without Yi Qinghan's consent, he obviously would not tell the truth. He looked at Yi Mengshi and cupped his fists. "Old ancestor, Senior Xianyuan, it's better for you to wait for Brother Yi to come back and ask him personally. I can only say that I'm sorry. I have no comment. You can't even tell me." Lu Potion's face darkened as he asked in a low voice. Lu Outyen did not hesitate to shake his head. He chose to remain silent. On the road to the east of Flaming Cloud City, Qin Haoren was crazily chasing after Tang Sheng and company. The hatred in his heart made him completely lose his mind. Tang Sheng was not in a hurry. He was slowly moving forward to discuss countermeasures with Dongfang Yu and Situ Feng. Halfway there, Qin Haoren caught up. "Seniors, please take care. I have information that you want to know." Qin Haoren's face was ferocious. He wanted Tang Sheng and Co. to immediately kill Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. Tang Sheng and Co. were stunned. Seeing Qin Haoren rushing over, they were immediately overjoyed. Emperor Yi was Qin Shi Huang and was related to Qin clan. Then her master would naturally be related to Qin clan. Qin Haoren chasing over clearly knew something. So it's Qin clan's brat. What do you want to tell us? Tang Xing pretended not to know and asked indifferently, "You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."